The special meeting is called back to order. Will the secretary note that all board members are present? The first item on the agenda is 3B, motion to adjourn the executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn the executive session and a second?
Nikita and Aaron.
A motion's been made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Mr. Marquez. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. The motion carries. The next item is 3C, motion to instruct the designated representatives of the public body regarding matters discussed in executive session. Is there a motion to affirm instructions given to representatives of the public body in executive session and a second? A motion has been made by Mr. Marquez and seconded by Ms. Ross. Is there any discussion? On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. The motion carries. The next item is item 3D, motion to adjourn the special meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the special meeting?
So moved.
Who's the primary? Ms. Oliver has made the motion and it's seconded by Ms. Parro. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. The motion carries. We are adjourned. So we've got 3 meetings tonight. The next meeting is the organizational meeting. The annual organizational meeting for of the governing board is called to order. Will the secretary please note that all board members are present? Please note that today's meeting is being live streamed. Tonight, all nominations will be made from the floor. Any board member may place a name in nomination. Neither a motion nor a second is required for the nomination, but a majority vote is required for the election. Do we have a nomination for president of the board for 2023? Ms.
Madam
Parra?
Chair, I'd like to nominate Member Ross.
Nikita Ross has been nominated. Are there other nominations for president? If not, I will close the nominations. Ms. Nikita Ross has been nominated as president of the board. There being only one nomination, is there a motion to declare that Ms. Ross is elected president of the body by acclamation, and is there a second?
So moved.
Second.
A motion's been made by Mr. Marquez, seconded by Ms. Parra. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Motion carries. Congratulations, Ms. Ross. Does she take over here?
She takes over here.
Okay.
Now, President Ross, as you transition into the seat, let's give a big round of applause to Senator Alston, who's been an incredible leader as a board president over the last couple of years.
Thank you all, my peers, for nominating and voting for me to be your president. I will do my best in this role to serve you and everyone out there very well. So thank you for trusting me with this position. So now that we've done that, we are going to move forward with the next position, and it is the elected. Do we have a nomination for clerk of the board for 2023?
Madam Chair, I have a
Yes.
nomination. I'd like to nominate Member Napa.
Are there any other nominations? Stacia Napa has been nominated as clerk of the board. There being only one nomination, is there a motion to declare that Stacia Napa is elected clerk of the board by acclamation?
So moved.
Second.
On the motion, those in favor?
Aye.
You are? Anyone opposed? Thank you. No? Okay. Stacia, come down here. Stacia, yes, come. Let's come.
Switching chairs with her.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the nomination, Ms. Para, and thank you for the second. I heard a bevy of seconds, so thank you to whoever seconded, and thank you for approving. So,
The next item is 2B, reaffirm calendars of the governing board meeting for 2023. Is there a motion to reaffirm the calendar of governing board meetings for 2023 as presented?
I motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Para and a second by Mr. Marquez. Is there any discussion? On that motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. The next item is 2C, designation of hearing officer. Is there a motion to appoint a hearing officer to conduct all hearings for the 2023 on the dismissal or suspension of a district employee and general grievances? Is there a motion?
I motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made by Member Para, and a second has been made by Member Marquez. Is there any discussion? On that motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Those opposed may say nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. 3A, adjourn the organizational meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting?
So moved.
There is a motion by Member Marquez and a second by Member Para. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed can say nay. Any abstentions? This meeting is adjourned. The regular meeting is called to order. Will the secretary please note that all board members are present? Please note that today's meeting is being live streamed. Also, please note that we have Spanish interpreting services available in the back of the room. Will you say that in Spanish for me, please? Will you translate that for me? Just that we have Spanish services available in the back.
Buenas noches. Si necesitan intérprete en español, por favor de mirar a Gabriela, que se encuentra atrás del cuarto.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 1C, Pledge of Allegiance. We will stand as Board Member Oliver leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing while a moment of silence is observed. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 1D, Land Acknowledgement Statement. Please remain seated as Board Member Parra reads the Phoenix Union Land Acknowledgement Statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Phoenix Union High School District is responsible for and committed to creating educational environments that prioritize the achievements of Native American students. We are committed to making their cultural identity visible by acknowledging that our school district resides upon the ancestral lands of the original caretakers, the Huhukam, ancestors of the Akimerl Atam, Ankh Akimerl Atam, Tohono Atam, and the Akchin. These sovereign nations are presently known as the Gila River Indian Community, Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, Dana Atam Nation, and the Akchin Indian Community. This formal acknowledgement is dedicated to the 22 sovereign nations of Arizona. PXU understands the importance of providing reparations through truth-telling. We recognize the historical injustices not traditionally taught in the classroom and are committed to practices prioritizing Native American knowledge, history, representation, and healing. We commit with an open mind to always respect the land, its histories, and its ancestors.
Thank you, Member Parra. As you know, we will open every meeting with our land acknowledgement statement. This month's art display includes amazing student work from 3 of our small schools, Wilson College Prep, Phoenix Digital, and Bostrom High School. First is Wilson College Prep. They are honored to have this opportunity to highlight their student success. Although they are small, they are strong in their abilities. Most art students at Wilson are all 9th graders and are enrolled in digital photography. These students study the elements and principles of design, along with the mechanics and science of a digital camera. In addition to learning about the science of photography and art history, they also become proficient in foundational skills related to the use of artistic software, Adobe Photoshop. Second, we have artwork from students enrolled with our online school, Phoenix Digital Academy, which is proud to display some of their first artwork created by their online students. This year, during second quarter, they piloted a digital hands-on art class in Canvas that allows Phoenix Digital Academy students the opportunity to create artwork and be involved in physical making art pieces. And last but not least, Bostrom, the high school art department, currently teaches digital photography as well. This class equips students with photography skills and future career opportunities. Their art teacher, Ms. Maria Juan Francisco, focuses on quality photography, which is applied to Photoshop and practical methods that expand students' creativity and skills. Most importantly, the goal of digital photography is to capture students' imagination and explore their natural talents in new ways. We are pleased to showcase the amazing artistic ability and talents of students from 3 of our small schools. Please take a moment to view and appreciate their artwork. The next item on the agenda is 2A, recognitions and accomplishments. Tonight, we recognize our 3 incoming board members and our 2 re-elected members. Dr. G.
President Ross and members, that sounds fantastic. Congratulations. First of all, congratulations to President Ross and Clerk Napa. Very excited to have you to serve in board leadership roles. And tonight, instead of celebrations outside of the governing board, we thought we would just recognize our governing board members who have been newly elected or re-elected. As you know, we had an election in November, and 2 board members are returning to Phoenix Union for another 4 years, President Ross and board member Stephanie Parra. So welcome back, congratulations. Let's give them a round of applause. As well as we have 3 newly elected board members, and they're on this next slide. And as you see up here, as you know, Phoenix Union is Phoenix Union is the only 7-member governing board in the state of Arizona. We have 7 members due to a long-standing desegregation court order that requires 2 at-large governing board members and 5 ward members so that we have equal representation across the 220 square miles of the city of Phoenix, and newly elected board members to my left, Clerk Napa, Signa Oliver, Board Member Oliver, and Board Member Jennifer Hernandez have been elected in their respective wards. Let's give them a big round of applause. Of course, President Alston, Senator Alston, and thank you, Senator, for your work down at the Capitol. Senator Alston and Board Member Marquez are at-large members and have 2 more years on their term, so thank you for your continued service. But tonight, we just wanted to, we'll start with re-elected governing board members, President Ross or Board Member Parra, if you want to share any words on your return, and then we will give newly elected board members an opportunity to say a few words and introduce themselves. I'll turn it back to you, President Ross.
Member Parra, will you go first, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Geston. To everyone out there, just really excited to come back to Phoenix Union for 4 more years. I know the last couple of years have been really challenging for us, navigating through a global pandemic that nobody anticipated, and all of our present challenges across the community. So just really honored and privileged for the community's trust to continue to serve here in Phoenix Union, and I promise and commit to do it as honorably as I can to the best of my abilities, and will support you, Dr. Geston, and the team in any way that I can, and Madam Chair, you as well as our leader of the board.
Thank you. I just want to say that I think everyone should do at least 2 terms, because the district is so big you cannot get enough done in 1 term. And so I'm very happy to serve this 2nd term to try to get even more done. And I'm really excited to work with these amazing women that are now on the board and to see what we can accomplish together. So I'm very happy to be in my 2nd term.
Great, President Ross, and now we'll turn it to Clerk Napa, and then Board Member Oliver, and then Board Member Hernandez to say any opening comments.
Yeah, Tolini Nishla, Tachini Bashishin, Batatni Dashache, Kia Ani Dashanala, Sha'e Seisha Napa Yinishne. My name is Seisha Napa. I am Navajo, and those are my 4 clans, and that's how we introduce ourselves to find our family in the audience. If I have any family members out there, I hope to meet you. A short introduction? Yeah, so my name is Seisha Napa. Seisha, I was named after Ron Say. My dad is a baseball fan, so he took the C-E-Y, and he said he knew I was going to be a girl, so S-H-E. I'm an enrolled member of the Navajo Nation. I come from Chinle, Arizona, and my maternal grandmother is from Lukachukai. Our summer home is at Saley Butte. My father's mother, she grew up in Spider Rock, and she had a home in Chinle. I'm a transplant. We moved here when I was very young. And to be very honest, I did not like it here. I did not have the freedoms that I had to run around, ride my bike, and to be around my aunties and my grandparents. But we decided to stay down here, especially for the educational opportunities. And I'm really glad that we did, because I'm a product of public education, going to Chinle Elementary, then Granada East, and then here at North High School in PXU. I graduated in 1996. I participated in the IB program. I also was very, very fortunate to be accepted and to complete 2 years at South Mountain Community College as a part of the ACE program, which really is a full circle, because now I am the Director of Early Engagement, Early College Programs at Glendale Community College, and ACE and Hoop of Learning are our 2 programs. And that's the best job I've ever had, being able to facilitate and to be able to scholarship students that are like myself, first generation, right? First generation, not a lot of economic opportunities, and really trying to figure things out. Because education changed lives, right? education changed my life. I am a product of a lot of hard work, but a lot of opportunities. And those opportunities really came from my North High School faculty and staff and administration treating me as a holistic person, not just a student, but seeing that I needed things when I needed things, and they provided those things for me. I also completed 2 years of service with Public Allies, and I'm really proud of those 2 years of public service. I served my first year at Native American Connections, where we helped develop a community development and engagement plan at Phoenix College. I did my second year at Center for Neighborhood Leadership, which is now Put Air in Action, also doing that same program, and we were looking to professionalize the pathway to community advocacy for nonprofit work, for government work, for community engagement. And that led me to all these wonderful opportunities at Maricopa Community Colleges and then at Glendale Community College. Family-wise, I have my husband here, and my daughter is here too. I want to thank my husband because we talked about me running for school board many, many years ago, and he supported me wholeheartedly. He got out, he knocked on doors. I think and he said this, if we ran the numbers, he probably knocked on more doors than anyone and gathered the most signatures to get me on the ballot. So thank you, Terry, honey. And I want to thank my daughter too, because she got out with her father and my mother. I want to thank my mother too for knocking on doors. And she was pretty upset that she could not walk and knock on doors all by herself. She is 11. I also want to thank my campaign team, Luke Black and Cassandra Belson. Really mapped out a lot of what I could not do on my own. This felt like a huge monster, and Luke and Cassandra broke it down for me. They gave me lists. They gave me everything that I needed to be able to be here, to make it on the ballot, and to be sitting here. I also want to thank Put Air in Action and AZ Put Air. Without the 2 years that I did with Public Allies and in close connection to Center for Neighborhood Leadership, I don't think I would have developed into the person that sits here today, mainly because I knew that I wanted to do something, but I was not connected to the people who could show me how to use my power as a constituent, as a private citizen, and as someone who is a member of this community. And I think that's really important to lift up, because sitting here in this seat, it's not just the people that knocked on doors. It's not just the people that signed my petition. I am answerable to the community, my constituents, my students, my schools, staff members, faculty, and those who do not have children that go to this school. And to be able to lift up their voices, make sure I hear those stories, and make sure that I hold myself accountable to them, to make sure that we make sure Phoenix Union High School District is safe for all students, right? That they can achieve what they want to achieve academically, professionally, and also making sure that we have a pipeline for them to go after they complete their years with us, whether that's to college or university, into trade school, into whatever it is that they want to do. We want to make sure that they have a plan afterwards. And speaking more to Phoenix Union's idea of the heart and the minds of our PXU students, really trying to look at our sex ed curriculum, making sure that it's doing what it needs to do to grow with our students. Not 1 year, not one semester as freshmen, because our students enter in freshman year, but they graduate as seniors, completely different people, where they have to make life choices out there in the world, and they need to be able to have the information, medically sound information, that prepares them for that world. Other than that, I just want to say thank you for giving me the time to say these things, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 years.
Oliver. I am a unicorn. I am a native of Arizona, specifically South Mountain. This is my labor of love, and I thank everybody that believe that I could do the things that you all have sent me here to do. I am the mother of two. I don't have my own identity. I'm Courtney and Kayla's mother. I'm the Gigi of 7 little boys and 1 little girl. And I'm Mother Washington's granddaughter. I'm Frank and David's sister. My name is Signa. But I have been extremely blessed to have come through this public school system here at Phoenix Union. It has afforded me amazing opportunities. I've found myself in places that I never imagined a little black girl from South Mountain would ever be, talking in spaces with people that are running the country, and they were actually listening to me, poor them. But I never would have imagined I would have done that. But for my grandmother, Mother Washington, and my mother, Alpha Jane, who got me here by cleaning houses on Camelback Mountain. So I never forget that those amazing women did what they did so I can do what I do. So I want to thank Missions for Arizona. They knocked on doors, they canvassed for me, they got signatures for me. I have many friends and family that did the same. I'm always touched that people believe in me and believe that I can do things. I too, just like Seisha, was named by my father. My name means swan, the swan in Scandinavian. And I am just overwhelmed to be able to represent not only Ward 2, but all of Phoenix Union, because this is my labor of love. Somebody years ago did this for me, and I find it gratifying to be able to give back to the community that did so much for me. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I will say what I have to say, and I will also say it in Spanish after, because I know translation can be a little hard sometimes. So, también lo voy a decir mi discurso en español. So, yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I still feels very surreal to be in this spot because, you know, a couple years ago, I was actually at that podium and, you know, begging, asking for changes to be made in the school board. So now being on the other side still feels, it still feels like a lot. And, you know, I am truly honored to be sitting here in the presence of my beautiful family, of my community, of my family, of my friends, of my constituents, the same people who supported me and made sure that they put me in the seat. My name is Jennifer Hernandez. I will be representing in Ward 5, which is Maryvale and Trevor High Schools. I identify as a daughter of immigrant parents. I am a mother of a amazing, beautiful, very smart 8-year-old who is here somewhere hiding, and a product of public education. Maryvale was a community that I was raised in, and I live here now. I grew up in a mixed status family. And so, you know, I was really struggling as Sheriff Arpaio was doing his raids and anti-immigrant laws became, you know, the norm in the state. It was very scary, and, you know, I still live with that fear, that trauma every day. I started high school in Maryvale, but in 2012, my own family became a victim of one of Arpaio's many raids, and that caused us to leave the only home I knew, which was Phoenix. I did not know there was any other home outside of Phoenix, so it was something that I took very hard. And since I was 12 years old, I have volunteered to support immigrant families after the passage of the Show Me Your Papers laws, the SB 1070, and worked to support my community. I have supported numerous young people in obtaining DACA and supported immigrant families while they were navigating the policing and immigration system. And for the past 5 years, I have recruited, I have trained, and I have built curriculum and organized young people, organized community members, and have supported them as they grow into advocates and leaders in their own community. I have been a high school organizer at Maryville, at Trevor, and schools in the north side. And yeah, it's been really great to work with those students and see them grow and see a few of them graduate this year as well. I've been struggling a lot in finding myself in this new role as one of the first young women of color on the seat ever. And, I know that this moment marks a new start of seeing and hearing young people and young leadership on this board. And because of my identities that I carry with me every day, I have felt and experienced what a lot of my community, a lot of the people that I'm representing live through every single day, because I have been there, I have been in those shoes, and I still continue to be in those shoes. And, I understand what it means to figure out how to live as an immigrant family and immigrant students, and finding spaces safe enough to feel like you don't have to hide who you are and really be proud in the roots that you come from. We need to create more spaces where students, families, where they feel heard, where they feel empowered, where they feel accurately represented. We deserve to be here, and I want to make sure that when my daughter comes to high school, which is in 6 years, that is crazy, that I have and we have already built a better environment for her to thrive in. And my main priority as a board member will be to center students who are most at risk of criminalization, bad policies and safety plans that increase the risk of violence from police, from state violence. And we need to start including Black, Indigenous, people of color, and LGBTQ plus communities and spaces of power, and put them in spaces of power. I will also create spaces for our families where they can be heard. And as a mother, I 100% understand that safety and education is a #1 priority as parents. And I will always put our kids first and put these students first and make sure that families always have a voice on this board. Teachers and staff, I want you to know I see you showing up, I see the hard work, and I recognize the impacts you make on our students' lives. I hold teachers and staff to high expectations, and I also know that there's a lack of resources, and that I want to make sure that we are supporting you with those resources, and that you also have a voice on this board. And to my fellow board members, I am very honored to be working with you and to be here tonight and allowing a new board to come in and make a difference in our lives and make a difference in the students and in the schools. And I just want to let everybody know I am very reachable. I have a campaign Instagram where y'all can hit me up and know that I am somebody who is willing to hear you out and someone you can trust. And I will now move to Spanish. And this I am going to have to read because I don't remember all the words. Buenas noches a todos. Todavía me siento muy emocional de estar en esta posición, porque hace unos años yo estaba en esa posición hablando y pidiendo que nos escuchen, que cambiemos las pólizas y que cambiemos el clima de nuestras escuelas. Me siento muy honrada de estar sentada aquí esta noche en presencia de mi comunidad, mi familia, mis amigos y electorales. Las mismas personas que me apoyaron y me pusieron en este asiento. Mi nombre es Jennifer Hernández y representaré a las escuelas secundarias Trevor Brown y Maryville. Me identifico como una hija de padres inmigrantes. Soy madre y producto de la educación pública. Maryville fue la comunidad en la que crecí y yo vivo aquí ahora. Crecí en una familia de estatus mixto cuando las redadas del sheriff Arpaio y las leyes anti-inmigrantes se convertían en la norma del estado. Empecé la escuela secundaria en Maryville, pero en 2012 mi propia familia fue víctima de una de las redadas de Arpaio, y mi familia tuvo que abandonar Phoenix, el único hogar que yo conocía. Desde que tenía 12 años, me ofrecí como voluntaria para apoyar a las familias inmigrantes después de la aprobación de la ley SB 1070, la ley Muéstrame tus papeles. Y trabajaré para apoyar a mi comunidad. Me ofrecí como voluntaria para organizaciones de justicia social y apoyé a muchos jóvenes indocumentados para obtener DACA y apoyar a familias inmigrantes mientras navegaban por el sistema policíaco e inmigración. Durante los últimos 5 años, He reclutado, entrenado, creado currículo y organizado a jóvenes y miembros de la comunidad y los he apoyado a medida de crecer como activistas y líderes en su comunidad. He sido una organizadora juvenil de la escuela secundaria de Maryville y Trevor Brown. He luchado para encontrarme en mi nuevo rol. Ha sido muy difícil. Como una de las primeras mujeres jóvenes de color en sentarse en este directorio. Pero sé que en este momento marca el comienzo de ver y escuchar liderazgo joven en esta junta. Merecemos estar aquí. Debido a las entidades que yo llevo conmigo todos los días, he sentido y experimentado lo que nosotros, otros estudiantes y familias de PXU pasan todos los días. Yo también estoy viviendo la misma historia. He entendido lo que significa averiguar cómo vivir como una familia inmigrante y estudiantes inmigrantes. Encontré espacios lo suficientemente seguros para sentir que no tienen que ocultar quién es y de dónde son nuestras raíces. Necesitamos crear más espacios donde los estudiantes y las familias se sienten escuchados y representados con precisión. Merecemos estar aquí. Y quiero asegurarme de que cuando mi hija venga a este distrito de entre 6 años, ya casi, ya haya creado un entorno mejor para que ella prospere. Mi principal prioridad como miembro de la Junta será centrar a los estudiantes que corren mayor riesgo de criminalización, malas políticas y planes de seguridad que aumentan nuestro riesgo de violencia por parte de la policía y del Estado. Necesitamos comenzar a incluir comunidades negras, indígenas y de color y LGBTQ+, y ponerlas en espacios de poder. También crearé espacio para las familias, donde se pueden escuchar. Como madre, honraré la seguridad y la educación de nuestros hijos y estudiantes, y asegurarse de que las familias siempre tengan una voz en esta junta. Maestros y personal, quiero que sepan que los veo aparecer y reconozco el gran trabajo y el impacto que tienen en nuestros estudiantes. Tengo altas expectativas para nuestros maestros y personal y sé que merecen más recursos y apoyo de la mesa directiva. Espero luchar con ustedes para mejorar nuestras escuelas. Y a mis compañeros miembros de la Junta, quiero dejarles en claro que siempre seguiré el liderazgo de las personas y comunidades más afectadas. Esa es mi pasión y lucharé por sostener sus voces en los espacios de decisiones y poder. Gracias otra vez por dejarme estar en este espacio, en esta mesa, y otra vez merecemos estar aquí, luchamos para estar aquí y ahora podemos hacer la diferencia que tanto necesitamos. Gracias.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, our new members, for being so vulnerable and sharing your story and your past and your history. Thank you for stepping up, because we all know that this is a volunteer position. So thank you for your passion and your dedication to our students and our family and our community. And thank you, Member Parr, for stepping up again to continue to serve. The next item is 3A, Reports from Employee Organizations. Ms. Anastasia Jimenez, CEA, please.
Hello, and Happy New Year, everybody. And welcome back, and thank you for allowing us to have this space with you tonight. I haven't had the opportunity to formally introduce myself to the new board, but I do look forward to meeting each and every one of you in the near future so that we can get to know one another and continue the collaboration between board and associations. As a PXU Classified Employee Association president, I take pride in my educational support professionals, otherwise known as our classified employees. And typically I start my reports with updates and celebrations, followed by some thank yous, you know, the niceties. But today I'll actually focus on what's most important to me, and that's the recognition of our ESP career families. And for the month of January, we're recognizing our safety teams, our safety services. And so for the past 2 years, going on 3 years now, our district has had to grapple with some hot topics, one of which is the safety of our sites, staff, students, and communities. And as noted in some of the previous Student Safety Committee meetings, safety can look different for each of us. But however, as a voice for my ESPs, I'd be amiss if I didn't bring forth some of their widespread issues and concerns. Frankly, our safety teams are what keep our campuses safe. ESPs are what keep our campuses safe. And I'm calling on all ESPs, all staff, all parents, and community members to step up. When they see something, they need to say something. Our safety teams are dealing with situations every single day that don't make the news, that don't even leave the campus. And that's because we have strong leaders in our safety division. I heard a comment made earlier this week to the extent of students are the most affected when it comes to safety. It hurt. Knowing our ratios of our safety teams are 250 to 1, I was left with the feeling that our staff didn't matter. But shortly after I went through those emotions, one of our safety supervisors reminded me, safety is everyone's responsibility. It's not up to just one. It's not up to just me. And it's not just up to our safety teams. It has to be a collaborative, consistent, and an intentional effort between community members and staff members, whether you're hourly or salary. We're in this together because we care about our students. We care about our communities, and we all want to go home safely. So with that, thank you to our safety teams, and specifically to our safety ESPs. I know it's been a rough few years, I'll even say, but I just want you to know that CEA is standing behind you, and we've got your back, and we're here for you, and we see you. So thank you for keeping me safe and for keeping my district safe.
Thank you, Ms. Jimenez. Really quickly, quick question. Sometimes when we're in an education space, we start to use a lot of, what are they called? Thank you.
Educational support professionals.
Thank you. If you could
yes.
just, for everyone,
Yes.
that's all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I forgot. This whole president thing. Our next speaker is Ms. Leticia Avalos from ADA.
Good evening, President Ross, governing board members, Superintendent Gustin, executive leadership, and Phoenix Union community. My name is John Doherty, and I'm the president-elect of the Administrators Association and the proud principal of Maryville High School. I stand before you this evening on behalf of our president, Ms. Avalos, and the entire Administrators Association. Happy New Year, and we wish you each all the best in your stewardship in Phoenix Union District during your tenure. Tonight, we'd like to highlight for you the role and service of our assistant principals of student connectedness. We call now our ACPs, formerly known as APOs, or assistant principals of opportunity. So if you allow me to read this for you, we'll give them a quick highlight. Phoenix Union's assistant principals for student connectedness are a very tight-knit team. They share their love for their jobs, knowing how the positive impact of activities, clubs, and sports influences the culture of the campus while connecting students to life-changing experiences, opportunities, and improved academic outcomes. The APCs relish their roles and rely heavily on each other because with the freedom and fun that activities, clubs, and sports brings to our students, it also entails a tremendous amount of planning, organization, communication, and potential liability. Their work is systems-driven that fosters collaboration amongst the APCs, that focuses on shared ideas for systemic improvements, building collective capacity, and using professional learning to help grow their knowledge base. For example, the APCs use an app to real-time communicate job-related ideas, discuss interpretations of federal, state, AIA, and district policies, procedures, practices, and safety protocols, which helps them to develop consistency and effectiveness in their work across our district. This again helps them to improve the systems they use to keep their programs and campuses functioning at a high level. In addition, they celebrate sports competition successes, clubs, and activity celebrations, as well as coach, staff, and personnel recognitions and celebrations. This platform is also a catalyst for social media posts that many times follow their shared communities. Another way that the APCs bond to build shared knowledge and application is through their involvement in the State and National Athletic Administrators Association events. Each year, they gather at state and national conferences, partly thanks to ADA support, to take leadership training courses, attend workshops, and listen to dynamic keynote speakers, all focused on improving the efficacy of the complex jobs they handle. There have also been a number of APCs that have received nationally recognized certifications for completing required leadership training courses, work, and examinations. In addition to receiving state and national awards ranging from Athletic Directors of the Year, Distinguished Service Awards, National Merit Citations, and Hall of Fame recognition. Further, many of our APCs are state and national board and/or committee members, as well as leadership training instructors, which is an excellent resource to PXU and their practices of shared knowledge and collaboration. The Phoenix Union Administrators Association is proud to highlight the integral work that our assistant principals for student connectedness do in Phoenix Union. We commend them for their outstanding efforts connecting our students, parents, staff, and communities to the positive influences of activities, clubs, and sports. Finally, we would like to recognize them for always striving to work collaboratively to grow themselves professionally and exemplifying the commitments and core values of the Phoenix Union High School District. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 4A, call to the public. Presentations tonight are limited to a maximum of 2 minutes per person, according to ARS 38-431.01H. At the conclusion of the call to the public, members of the public body may respond to criticism made by those who address the public body, may ask the staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. I would like to caution members of the audience about commenting on a particular individual and to thank you for not referring to any person by name. Tonight, we have the option for members of the public to participate in person and virtually. We will start with our speakers who are registered online. Clerk Stacia.
We have 3 requests to speak virtually. Please state your name, indicate the agenda item or topic you wish to speak about, and limit your presentation to 2 minutes. Our first caller is Vidi Hernandez. Please provide your comment.
Vidi, if you're there, we're ready for you. Vidi, if you're there, I think you need to unmute. Vidi, *6 if you hear us. President Ross and Clerk Napa, let's go to the next one, and we'll come back to Vidi and try it again in a moment.
Next speaker is Maria Sanchez. You may address the governing board.
Sanchez, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you for the confirmation. I just wanted to make a public comment to congratulate all our new board members, especially hearing from everyone tonight. Wanted to give a special shout out to Jennifer Hernandez, who really spoke to my own experience being in Metro Tech High School and navigating the school system and going to college, which is then, you know, at the end of the day, we want to make sure students feel safe, successful for life. And I really felt like there was a lot of obstacles that could have been removed, because they were very direct, to my immigration status. And so I just wanted to say thank you to Jennifer Hernandez, again, board member who has spoken to thousands of students. And I've been a witness and seeing how, you can go and move and recruit you to action in like 1 to 2 minute conversation. So this school board is really lucky to have you. Once you speak to students, they look at you and just like myself, are able to right away trust you and say, yes, sign me up, I'll take action and whatever ask you're making. So again, I just want to reaffirm that we trust you, we see ourselves in you, and we want to thank you for your courage to represent us. And just wanted to remind you of the power and the love that you bring to spaces, especially through the endorsement process with AZ Poder. I just wanted to remind you, you scored the highest in our endorsement rubric, which you're completely aligned with values and with community. So yeah, and you also provided a lot of solid ideas before you even ran your campaign. Like you're ready for students, for parents, and for all teachers there. So just wanted to say thank you for coming in with the plan ready to go. Jennifer Hernandez. And Seisha,
Our next speaker is Shalay Flores. Please provide your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Shalay Flores. I'm a community member and a student advocate in Ward 3. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate and celebrate our newly elected governing board members. And I want to give a special recognition to Jennifer Hernandez. She's a Phoenix Union alumnus, a single mother, an active community member, and a student advocate in Maryvale and in Greater Phoenix. And by definition, she's a part of the youth demographic. This is a really important moment for the district and for our community, especially in terms of representation. Jennifer is someone who looks like PXU students, who comes from the same place, who has similar stories and experiences from the hood, as do a plethora of PXU students. I also want to recognize that the role each of you board members have taken on is essential for our city, and I fully commend you all for your service. But one of the greater challenges you face is this scarcity in widespread student and youth participation in decision-making and governance. How many students are present in this room tonight? This is a real hiccup in this process, and the responsibility does not solely reside with the youth, but in large part on the people sitting among this platform. So as we move into the new year, please be mindful of how far removed politicians often grow to be once they claim their seat at the table. I encourage you to seize this as an honor and an opportunity to sit alongside Jennifer. Some of you may have been serving on the board since she was a student. Her opportunities and trajectory have been strongly influenced by your governing decisions. And to those who have been here since then, I ask, were you a positive influence or were you a hindrance to her growth and potential? To see Jennifer here on this platform is a major win. Congrats, Chingona. Thank you.
Did we get Vidi? Okay. Thank you, Vidi. When you're ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you all. Hi, my name is Vidi Hernandez. I am calling just to congratulate our new board members. Seisha, thank you for running. Thank you for being the first Indigenous representation on that board. That is historic. And it's just so grateful that you're there. Signa, thank you for representing the South Side and bringing your voice as a powerful Black mujer in that space and continue to be there. And showing up for students and showing up from the South and showing up boldly and fiercely and honestly and willing to learn as well. And I also just want to say thank you to Jenny for running. Jenny, you've been changing lives for a long time, and you've impacted my life, and you've impacted a lot of our people's life in the space right now. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you. And I'm so grateful that you're taking all of the experiences and the pain that you've experienced to lead now and to make sure that students' voices are centered. And so all of y'all, thank you Also, congratulations, Nikita. Thank you for being the board president. I'm so excited for your leadership as well. So today is just a gratefulness, and thank you all for stepping up and for breaking and changing and shifting history. Jenny also being the youngest woman of color to ever be elected. I hope that we as community can continue to support y'all and show up for y'all as you continue to govern with students, with parents, with teachers. Thank you.
We have people who are here to speak in person. I have some blue cards, and when I call your name, please state your name, indicate the agenda item or topic you wish to speak on, and limit your presentation to 2 minutes. Rebecca Dennis?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Denis, and I live in Ward 2, Cigna's ward. So I just stand here to express my joy to see such a diverse BIPOC and women-led school board for the biggest high school district in the state. And I hope that this board sets a strong tone and that we see the ripple effects and the representation in other school boards. I want to express my welcome to the newly elected school board members, Signa Oliver, Jenny Hernandez, the youngest woman of color ever elected on this board, and Seisha Napa, the first Indigenous woman. What a privilege that the community chose and elected these individuals who possess a wealth of combined knowledge, unique personal experiences, and so much passion and love for their community to be our newest representatives. If I had seen a board like this when I was in high school a very long time ago, it would have caught my attention as someone who was always searching for inclusion and representation and often felt like I didn't matter at the school that I attended. I was personally excited to vote for Signa Oliver, this amazing Black woman, a Phoenix native who grew up on the South Side, who stayed here, who didn't leave. This is her home. Sorry, I'm a little emotional. It was also beautiful listening to the land acknowledgement and seeing Seisha, knowing that she is the first from our Indigenous community to sit in one of those seats. It's extremely powerful, and it's also so shameful that it took so long to have that representation. I don't have kids, only time will tell if I ever do, but I have nieces and nephews and cousins and friends with children, and I care about young people, and I believe in their wisdom and their ability to lead. Young people may not always have the language. They may not always know how to best express, but they know, like, they are human beings just like you and I. Their wisdom is there, and I really challenge this board to figure out the creative ways in which you can access.
Thank you. Ana Hernandez? Is Ana Hernandez here? Martha Avenado? Avenado. Is it 4 minutes?
Buenas tardes a todos. Pues mi nombre es Marta. Quiero felicitar a la Junta por permitirnos participar hoy en este día y en esta tarde.
Good afternoon. My name is Marta, and I want to congratulate all this board for letting me be here.
Yo soy un miembro de la comunidad de aquí de Maryville y quiero felicitar tanto a Seisha como a Jenny por este puesto que ellas están teniendo hoy, pero a Seisha la felicito especialmente porque es una representante nativa, la primera mujer, creo yo, que conozco hasta ahorita que nos está representando, y a Jenny.
Yeah, I am a member from the community here from Maryville, and I would like especially to congratulate Seisha because he's the first person representing here, your community here.
Y a Jenny la felicito porque a ella la conozco desde hace un tiempo. Sé que es una mamá muy joven, muy luchadora, porque ella merece estar en este puesto. Nosotros la apoyamos mucho para que pudiera estar aquí y más que nada porque ella conoce las necesidades de los jóvenes en en el distrito de Maryville. Yo también pertenezco a ese distrito, mis hijos van a las escuelas de ese distrito y creo que ella es la persona capacitada y yo orgullosa de ella de que nos pueda representar aquí en la Junta Directiva.
I'm also very happy to see Jennifer here. I have known her for many, many years. I know that she's young, she's a brave woman, brave mom, and I participated a lot so she could come here, and I'm proud her to be here. Yeah?
Gracias.
Thank you.
Estela Varela.
Buenas tardes.
Good
y
afternoon.
Felicidades a los 3 nuevos miembros.
Congratulations to the new 3
Y
members.
felicidades a todos los que están aquí, ¿verdad? Porque
Congratulations to everybody,
creo que todos van a hacer un cambio.
because I feel that everybody is going to make a change.
Mi nombre es Estela.
My name is Estela.
Soy de la organización Poder en Acción
I'm
en el
from the
equipo de barrios.
Organization Power in Action.
Y solo estoy aquí para felicitar a Jenny por su presentación aquí. Yo sé que ella es una muchachita, jovencita, es de la edad de mis hijos,
I just
¿verdad?
want to congratulate Jenny for being here. I know she's very young. She's the same age of my children.
Para mí ella es una mujer empoderada, aunque esté chiquita.
For me, she's an empowered
Jovencita.
woman, even she's very young.
Y de las virtudes de ella puedo decir miles de virtudes de ella.
And I can mention
Pero unas
virtues.
de las que más me han impactado es la empatía que tiene con su gente,
I got very impacted by the sympathy she has with people,
sus valores
her values
como madre,
as a mom,
mujer,
woman,
hija,
daughter,
todos los valores que ella tiene
All
¿verdad?
the
para
values.
representarnos como comunidad.
all the values she has to represent us as a community.
Sin duda es una mujer empoderada.
Without a
otra vez.
doubt, she's an empowered woman.
Felicidades, Jenny.
Congratulations, Jenny.
Échale ganas, porque
Go for it.
detrás de ti estamos nosotros
Because
y
behind
nuestros
you-
hijos,
behind
nuestros
you-
estudiantes.
It is us and our children, our
Felicidades.
students. Congratulations.
Alma Reyes.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Alma Rayos
Good afternoon, I am Alma Rayos.
y yo vengo a felicitar a las 3 grandes mujeres que entraron hoy
I'm here to congratulate the 3 greatest women that are here today.
y espero que ahora sí haya un gran cambio en las escuelas, que es lo que más necesitamos.
And I hope there is a big change right now in schools, that's what we need.
Y yo vengo también a felicitar a Jenny porque es a una de las que yo apoyé más y a Seisha,
I'm
que
here-
anduvimos tocando puertas por ellas.
I'm here to congratulate Jenny and Seisha because those are the ones that I supported the most. We were knocking on doors because of them.
Y quiero felicitar más a Jenny porque yo tengo una hija, exactamente tiene la vida de mi hija que tiene la misma edad, tiene una niña igual.
And I want especially to congratulate Jenny because my daughter and her story are very similar. She's very young and she's also a mom.
Y veo a ella que desde los 14 años siempre ha estado queriendo ayudar a la comunidad.
And I see that since she's 14, she has been willing to help the community.
Y pues sabe que nosotros estamos detrás de ellas y de todos ustedes, que nosotros así como los podemos meter en esas sillas, también podemos hacer que lo saquen.
Okay, and she knows that we've been behind them, and they know that we help them to be in that chair, but we can also help you being removed.
Porque ya vimos que el voto de nosotros también cuenta.
Because we notice that our vote also counts.
Y felicidades y gracias.
Congratulations and thank you.
Maria Gutierrez. I think this is Lorenza Valdez. Lorenza? No? Berta Rita? And can we put 4 minutes on the clock for individuals who require interpretation? We restart it?
Yeah, they
Okay.
restarted to,
Okay.
yeah.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Berta Rita. Yo también estoy aquí. Muchas gracias también para felicitar a las nuevas personas que acaban de tomar esta posición
I'm also here to congratulate the new people that just took a new position
para representar a nuestras comunidades.
to represent our communities.
Especialmente quiero felicitar a Jennifer. Me inspiró mucho tu historia, Jennifer, de lo que hablaste ahorita.
I want especially to congratulate Jennifer. Your story really inspired me and touched me.
Y todas esas ganas que tienes por hacer un cambio en estas escuelas.
And all your willingness to make a change in these schools.
Sé que lo vas a hacer, sé que he conocido el gran liderazgo que tienes y sé que cuando nos organizamos ganamos.
I know you can do it. I know you are a great leader, and I know that when we get organized,
Sé que eres una persona que ha tenido muchas trabas para llegar a la universidad. Desgraciadamente, tus sueños no los has podido cumplir porque tus padres tampoco no te han podido apoyar.
I know you have had you have faced a lot of obstacles to go to college. I know your parents weren't able to support you.
Pero sé que estamos aquí para hacer un cambio y vamos a estar aquí atrás de ti y de todos ustedes para seguirlos apoyando y puchando para lograr este cambio, para que este cambio pase en las escuelas.
So we are going to be behind you, pushing you and encouraging you so we can see a change in schools.
Para que les den a nuestros estudiantes realmente las herramientas que ellos necesitan para llegar a universidad.
So they can get the tools they need to get to college.
Porque aquí no necesitamos policías, no necesitamos más criminalización y es lo único que dan a nuestros hijos.
Because we don't need more police officers, we don't need more crime. Our kids don't need that.
Aquí necesitamos que en verdad ustedes luchen por nuestros estudiantes y den las herramientas para que ellos vayan a la universidad y sean el futuro del mañana aquí.
We need a tool. You give us the tools. You give our students the tools so they can get to college and be.
Felicidades otra vez Jennifer y Seisha por estar aquí y representar a nosotros como padres también.
Congratulations.
Y saben también las necesidades que nosotros tenemos.
Congratulations for representing us and because you know what our needs are.
¿Tengo tiempo todavía?
I still have time.
Bueno, estaba muy rápido porque pensé que se me iba a acabar.
I went fast because I thought there was not enough time.
Sí, especialmente nosotros como padres hemos tenido muchas trabas en las escuelas y lo digo por mi experiencia, especialmente por nuestro idioma.
As parents, I can tell you that we have faced a lot of obstacles, basically because of our native language.
Para poder salir con nuestros hijos, ¿verdad? Muchos padres que yo conozco no pueden salir ni a un lugar de paseo con ellos porque muchas veces en las escuelas piden una identificación.
A lot of our parents can go to field trips with our students because the schools ask for an ID.
Por eso creemos en ustedes, creemos que ustedes pueden.
We believe in yourself, we believe you can do it.
Y que van a hacer ese cambio en las escuelas.
And you will make that change in schools.
Y sí, necesitamos más gente joven, más gente que es impactada por estos sistemas, que saben realmente el gran problema que nosotros tenemos y que ellos tienen.
We need more, younger people that know our problems and that understands us.
Y esos son los jóvenes que tienen esa historia y que saben lo que necesitan y creo que también son los que merecen estar ocupando estos lugares.
Those can be young people that understand our stories and that they should be here in this board.
Porque ellos son como les dije, el futuro del
They
mañana.
are the future,
Y gracias.
They are the
Es
future
todo.
of this. Thank you.
Brenda Benitez. Brenda Benitez. Nope. Juana Rita. And I would just like to add, if people who need interpretation,
Las personas que necesiten interpretación.
the clock is set at 2 minutes, and then it'll reset again for 2 minutes for a total of 4
El
minutes.
reloj está por 2 minutos, pero se vuelve a poner para que sean en total 4 minutos.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Juana Rita.
Good afternoon, my name is Juana Rita.
Primero que nada, quiero felicitar a las nuevas miembros del comité
First of all, I want to congratulate the new members
que se están uniendo para hacer un cambio.
that are here together to make a change.
Conozco Seisha, conozco Jennifer Hernández,
I know Seisha and Jennifer Hernandez
porque hemos estado ahí puchando para que ellas tomaran un puesto aquí en este distrito.
because we have been pushing so they can get a position here in this district.
Especialmente Jenny, porque Jenny es una mujer joven, fue una mamá joven, yo la conozco desde niña.
Especially Jenny because I know her, she's a young mom, I know her since she was a child.
Pero he visto el crecimiento, ¿verdad?, de ella como líder, como organizadora. Ella ha sufrido también los sistemas, ¿verdad?, que nos oprimen como personas de color.
I have seen her, all the obstacles and problems that she has faced from these systems. Okay, that are,
Y aunque ella es la más joven del comité, por lo que yo veo, ella trae muchas ideas muy buenas, sobre todo porque quiere involucrar a padres, que nos involucremos junto con alumnos y maestros.
and even she's the youngest of all, and she has a lot of ideas that she wants us to get connected parents and schools.
Sé que ella va a hacer un gran cambio en nuestro distrito,
I know she's gonna make a big
porque
change
ella
in
es
our
una mujer
district
guerrera, una
because
mujer
she's a
luchona,
warrior.
y no se rinde ante nada.
Okay, she doesn't get down easily.
A pesar de ser tan joven, les aseguro que trae ideas que quizás aquí no hay.
Even she's very young, I can tell you that she has very good ideas that probably have never been heard.
Como gente de color, como miembro de la comunidad,
As a minority, as a
quiero
member of color,
luchar por un futuro mejor para mis nietos. Mis hijos ya están grandes, pero hay muchos niños, ¿verdad?, que quieren un cambio.
I want to fight for a better future, not for my children because my children are already grown up, but for my
Que seamos
grandkids.
respetados sin importar el color de nuestra piel.
They want to change and to be respected no matter the color of our
Todos
skin.
somos humanos y merecemos respeto.
We are all humans and we deserve respect.
Por eso confío en ti, Jenny. Sé que va a ser un gran cambio en todas las nuevas que están aquí. Seisha sé que trae muchas ideas igualmente para su distrito y
I
sé
trust
que
you,
lo van a
Jennifer,
lograr.
And I trust you, Jennifer, and I know she has also a lot of ideas, and I know that you are going to make it. Achieve it.
Necesitamos paz y tranquilidad en las escuelas con nuestros jóvenes. Lo más importante es que los jóvenes tengan ayuda por problemas de salud mental.
We need a lot of peace in the schools, and we need our students to get help because of mental issues.
Porque sabemos que muchos jóvenes están en depresiones. COVID nos dejó muy mal a muchas personas, ¿verdad?,
We know a lot of students have a lot of depression because of COVID.
con depresiones. Y yo pido a todos los miembros que tomen en cuenta todo eso.
I ask all the members to take into account all this.
Y sería una buena idea contratar más personas capacitadas para lidiar con problemas de salud mental
It would be a great idea to hire more people to lead with mental health
y
problems.
así poder salvar vidas.
And like that, save lives.
Y arriba, Jennifer, porque tú puedes, sin importar qué eras, porque has sufrido estos sistemas, ¿verdad? Has sufrido discriminaciones. Y sé que tú vas a lograr todo lo que quieres. Felicidades, Jenny.
Congratulations, Jennifer, because I know you have faced a lot of obstacles
gracias-
and racism and
Y gracias
problems.
a
Thank
todos
you.
los miembros de la mesa directiva.
Thank you to all the members of the board.
Blanca Abarca. Blanca?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Blanca Barca, pero voy a hablar en español porque creo que es importante hacerlo.
I'm going to speak in Spanish because I think it's important to do it.
Así es. Y creo que con estas y felicitaciones a todos los nuevos
I
miembros
want to
aquí.
congratulate every member here.
Soy de Son Monte, felicidades. Y también Jenny y
Congratulations.
Cesti, muchas felicidades.
Jennifer, Seishi.
Pero también aquí hay un gran cambio, un cambio radical que miramos a todo como comunidad
Here's a big
que nos
change that
están
we see.
representando.
We see a big change here as a community because you are representing us.
Y también me gustaría, no declino a nadie, ¿verdad?
I would
Pero
like to-
en un futuro ver más gente joven.
I would like to see more younger people in the future.
La gente joven nos motiva, nos mueve y transforma el mundo.
Young people touch us, move us, and transform the world.
Y estamos enfrentando cambios muy drásticos en nuestra comunidad, en nuestra sociedad.
And we are facing drastic changes in our community,
Y lo
in our
que es
society.
el cambio climático, hay que
And the
afrontarlo.
climate change, we have to face it.
Y los jóvenes traen muchas ideas.
And young people have a lot of ideas.
Y estoy aquí orgullosa, ¿por qué? Porque al ver a Jenny va a haber una transformación.
I'm proud because when I see Jenny, I know there's
Y en
going
esa
to be a
transformación
transformation.
bien importante, que es combatir el racismo sistémico,
And there is a big transformation that means
que
beat
también
the racism.
haya la oportunidad de que aquí se hable español,
And I would like to see the opportunity
que
to
haya
speak Spanish.
traductores, porque he
Translators or
venido
interpreters to
en
be
otras
here.
ocasiones y qué difícil ver que papás vengan y que a veces solicitar un traductor.
I have seen parents coming here and ask for a translator or
Sé el cambio
interpreter.
que necesitamos, Jenny.
That's one of the changes we need.
Felicidades a los nuevos miembros.
Congratulations to the new
Gracias.
members.
Isabel Garcias.
Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm also from the South Side, born in Phoenix. I grew up in the South Side, still live on the South Side. I know it's the South, so hi. I'm here today to congratulate my dear friends, Jennifer and Seisha. My heart is filled with joy. With so much joy, pride, and excitement seeing you both here tonight. I just want to offer a truth as you embark on this journey of leadership and service to the students who are learning and growing in your wards. The people closest to the community are the most qualified to identify the solutions. Your lived experiences coming from the communities most directly impacted by systemic oppression, going to the high schools in this district that serve Black, Indigenous, and other students of color, give you the most relevant expertise to address the challenges that the community in your wards are experiencing. It feels so good. I'm so excited. It feels so good knowing that you are here representing the students from your neighborhoods where you grew up and where you have worked and where you have organized. Our youth and families are in such good hands with you serving on this board, so thank you. And welcome Signa also. I don't know you, but I want to get to know you, so thank you for serving also, and congratulations. Thank you.
Abia Khan.
Hi, sorry to interrupt the Love Fest. I want to talk about school safety. So I'm Abia Khan. I graduated from North High School in 2020. The previous board expelled a gross number of students over the past year, and if some of you read the agenda tonight, there's 2 more students that are going to be voted on tonight. By removing these students, the district and the board is effectively turning its back on them and pushing them into the school-to-prison pipeline and out of the system. I was someone who should have been pushed out my first year of high school because of my mental health problems. But many staff and teachers decided to step up and invest time and energy in me, and because of that, they saved my life and they saved my future, and that investment clearly paid off. I'm a junior at Harvard now. The privilege of being a college student has allowed me to get a jump start on my career as a political operative as well as an Army officer. Every now and then I wonder how many students fell short of their potential because they were pushed out. One mistake shouldn't determine the trajectory of the rest of a student's life. I urge this new board to explore less punitive discipline measures for students To 3 board members who have consistently voted for expulsions, I hope you can sleep at night, perpetuating the incredibly racist and discriminatory policies that you claim to be against. The hypocrisy is disgusting, especially as a woman of color. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who came to the podium to speak. It takes courage to speak in public, so thank you for all of our speakers. The next item is 5A, approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I would like to pull agenda item 10K out of the consent agreement.
There's a motion by Member Napa to
So,
pull.
sorry, President Ross. It's now off. Once they pull it off,
Then we
it's
can
off.
just do
So, unless anything else, you can just move to approve the consent agenda,
Perfect.
and then we'll go to that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Is there a motion to approve the now consent agenda without item 10K?
Second.
We have a motion by Member Signa and a second by Member Aaron. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. The next item is 6A.
President Ross, yeah, now we'll do 10K.
Now we'll do
We'll go
10K.
straight to 10K.
All right. She wanted to pull it, so what do we do? Dr. G?
Yeah, no problem. So President Ross, so we'll now officially, you can just officially move to 10K and open it up for a motion and then discussion. Yeah.
So the next item is to approve item 10K. Is there a motion to approve item 10K?
A motion?
You'll discuss it after, yeah. So motion and a second. Yeah.
Has there been a motion?
Yeah, motion.
Motion?
Motion, is there a second? A motion has been made by Member Stephanie and a second by Member, and I'm doing it because it takes me too long to get your last name, so sorry. A second by Member Oliver. Is there any we do that before, yep. Is there any discussion?
So we're discussing item 10K
Yes, so now
right
you
now.
talk. Yeah, now it's your
Okay.
turn.
Okay, so I'm looking to discuss more the Iconico contract, especially around the piece of community engagement, and I'm asking what the specific metrics are that Iconico is going to deliver. The other thing that I want to make sure that we discuss is, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Goals and actuals of the metrics and how is Iconico going to get back on track, especially considering that the December safety hearing sessions came far below what the target goal was. And I also want to know what the plan is on how Iconico will be presenting the data. And I also want a report on anticipated next steps from the committee, from Claudio and the team, so the safety committee.
Dr. G.
Yeah, President Ross, members of the board, I'll have Thea, Ms. Andrade, and Claudio Correa, Executive Director for Safety. I will anticipate they'll have some answers to the metrics. I'm not sure how much they can speak on behalf of Iconico, but certainly that last question around the Student Safety Committee, although later today we do have a presentation and an update on the Safety Committee. And board, your counsel is coming up to tell us what we're doing wrong.
Is this on? Yes. The second question, that last question needs to wait until it
I knew
is
she was gonna
part
say
of the
that.
safety committee, because right now you're talking about the procurement issue just for Iconico. Okay.
Excellent. So President Ross and Clerk Napa, so the Iconico questions are relevant for this agenda item. The question about the Student Safety Committee will be a part of 8C, is what I just heard. And Ms. Andrade and Mr. Correa, give whatever answers you have that you know for sure. And again, you can't fully speak on behalf of Iconico.
Thank you, President Ross and Member Napa. It is my understanding that because we did not meet quorum in December, at the December meeting, they have added an additional listening session and an additional meeting. It's twice a month. It's the similar deliverables, but additional time. As far as how they will plan to present the data, I believe it is in the aggregate to protect anonymity from the district around themes based on the questions from the survey. They also have it by school, so they can provide that for us as well. We wanted to see if the different regions had different feelings or data to represent. So again, it will be divided. We've asked for it to be divided by student, staff, and community. We've asked to identify it by school so that we can look at it by school and by region and really just in the aggregate. I hope that maybe clarifies some of your questions.
Currently, the motion to approve the item 10K has been moved by Board Member Parra and second by Board Member Oliver. We've had discussion. If there's no further discussion, we'll move for the vote.
I see. Board Member Ross?
Yes, sorry, I didn't see you.
Yeah, I guess a question to Dr. Gaston and staff. If we were to continue this item until next month, until Board Member Nappa's questions were fully answered, how would that impact sort of the next month of this School Safety Committee?
Yeah, President Ross and Board Member Marquez, thank you. So it would impact only because without an existing contract, they can't do any work in the month of January. I think the board has a couple of options. One, approve the item as is, and then ask Iconico. We can get a report for you in the next few days to come back to you. Certainly, you have an option to modify. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm recommending that, but you have an option to maybe modify that item to go month at a time and have them come back and present next month if that's the will of the board. So I would just recommend those. You could either, we wouldn't recommend it's on the agenda. We're not recommending to not vote on it tonight. So we could either have them, we can give you a report, you vote it as is, or if you feel that strongly collectively as a board, you could also modify to go month by month and have them come provide a report at the next board meeting.
Any other discussion?
And just if for some reason there's people believe going month by month is the case, that would require a modification of the existing motion, if in fact that's the will of the board.
The current motion is to approve item 10K, which has been moved by Board Member Parra and second by Board Member Oliver. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those against? Any abstentions? Noted. The motion passes, if I count it right. The next item is 6A, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Gaston, please too much talking at one time. Dr. Gaston, please provide your report at this time.
Excellent. President Ross and members of the board and Phoenix Union community, my report is very brief tonight. You're welcome. Wanted to, it does happen to be Board Member Appreciation Month this month, so to all 7, not just the new ones, we appreciate your service. As was alluded tonight, being a board member in public schools is volunteer and thankless and tough. And so thank you all for your service. Just want to share a couple of things. One, just a general Happy New Year to everyone in the room, especially our educators and our students and our families. We also like to remind ourselves that the New Year and the holidays is also a time of grief and remembrance. We've had a lot of loss in our own system, even a student passing and a staff member passing over the last couple of weeks. But it's also a time where many people gather as family. There's a lot of families that don't gather in full anymore because of loss. And so we also want to make sure that every time we celebrate with those who celebrate, we mourn with those who mourn and remember everyone's grief. I did also want to congratulate all of our mid-year graduations. We do a great job celebrating spring and summer grads, but we did graduate over 70 mid-year graduates, most of whom, of course, are at Phoenix Digital. Thank you to all the educators that got our students across the stage during the month of December. Also did want to provide a couple sports highlights. Every once in a while, we'd like to pull out a story that the public may not know about. We do handball in Phoenix Union, and actually have handball teams. And Carl Hayden, Community High School, who's always represented, actually, they have an incredible team, an incredible story. You could read up there for yourselves, but just wanted to thank that school for keeping official handball teams alive and active. Congratulations to their ongoing success. And I did want to thank Ms. Alyssa Tarkington and especially Dr. Zach Munoz, our Director for Student Connectedness. We launched a Phoenix Union Sports Hall of Fame many years ago, and the Hall of Fame is an incredible opportunity to bring back teams and individuals and coaches to recognize them for their years of service. Phoenix Union's been around since 1895. We have had hundreds of professional and Olympic athletes and hundreds of state winning championship teams. And so it's a great opportunity and wanted to thank all involved in that planning. Also did want to recognize a couple of employees. Speaking of football, we've talked about Coach Chandler Hovick before at Central High School. The Central Bobcats went 9-1 this year, and he received one of the most prestigious coaching awards in the state of Arizona. So congratulations, Coach. We also highlighted earlier this year Coach and his wife for taking in an incredible young man. We showed that video. So he's a great coach with a big heart for students. Also wanted to congratulate Camelback High School and Principal James Arndt. If you recall, during COVID, at the request of a couple board members, including board member Aaron Marquez, we looked into what would it look like to create filters, air filters, to improve airflow and air quality in classrooms. And Principal Arndt in Camelback High School just received an award from Dr. Crow at ASU for innovation throughout COVID. Congratulations to the Spartans. And then Dr. Logan Fox, we always congratulate our APCs now, our Assistant Principals for Connectedness, when they receive local and national certification. So congratulations to Dr. Logan Fox, also at Camelback. And speaking of doctor, as of July 4th, he was Mr. Julio Rubio, January 4th, and as of January 5th, he is now Dr. Julio Rubio. Congratulations to Principal Rubio. Congratulations, sir, on your successful defense. And you might be wondering why a Camelback logo is up there. Mr. Rubio is a Phoenix Union alum, and he graduated from Camelback High School, so also want to celebrate our alum going on to do incredible, incredible work. Felicidades, señor. We also, every once in a while, like to recognize classified employees, ESPs, education support professionals, who are working hard to get certified, to bring different opportunities, and wanted to just highlight Ms. Deanna Fears, who works here at the district office. She's been with us for many, many years, and she actually not only has her bachelor's degree, but now her master's degree in counseling. We hope to see her in a counseling office really soon in PXU, nowhere else, please. And then finally tonight, just wanted to remind us that in order for us to provide high-quality teaching and learning and loving and opportunity, we need the right staff members. We have a job fair. We have about 100 vacancies for, as we anticipate for next year, per classified and certified. That is coming up very soon at the end of this month. We encourage you to invite family, friends, neighbors, community, and educators to come to our job fair later this month. And with that, President Ross, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. G. The next item is 7A, the 2021-2022 Phoenix Achievement and State Letter Grade Overview. Dr. G.
Right. President Ross, members of the board, as Executive Director Tony Camp makes his way up to the dais, I want to just very quickly introduce this item. We, every year, Governing Board and Community, there you go.
Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. Every year, Governing Board and Community, we provide an update on Phoenix Union's achievement. And what you will see tonight is some incredible celebration, as well as the reality that we have a long way to go. As a governing board and as an executive team, one of our most important functions is achievement. And we hear tonight, safety we know is a very close second, if not a first. But we wanted tonight to make sure that the governing board and the public has a very clear picture of where Phoenix Union is from an achievement perspective from many lenses, many assessments. And with that, I will turn it over to our Chief Achievement Officer, Thea Andrade.
Good evening, President Ross, members of the board, Dr. Guestin, and our Phoenix community. Tonight we'll be providing you an overview of some achievement data, but primarily as it relates to our state letter grades. We're going to review the components and the weights associated with the letter grade. We're going to look at current and historical progress around the letter grade. And we'll be looking at our bright spots as well as our areas for improvement that we commit to working on. We're also going to be sharing our own school profiles, which includes data beyond the letter grade that we value as a district. So we track additional components in our strategic plan, such as college enrollment, scholarship totals, advanced placement and international baccalaureate, dual enrollment and enrollment numbers, as well as scores, career and technical education courses, completions, dropout rates, internships. I could go on and on. In addition, we're going to go ahead and share our approach tonight to a balanced assessment system. The letter grades primarily focus on summative end of year, so we wanted to save a little bit of space for formative assessment. Because how we track growth in Phoenix Union looks very different than the state, and so we want to differentiate those two. We do it student by student to measure and monitor their progress with adaptive assessments. So let's go ahead and jump in and look at the components and the weight of the letter grade. The state uses 5 categories to measure an entire school. The weight of those areas will vary between whether or not you're a traditional 9 through 12 or whether or not you're an alternative high school. For traditional, the highest weighted factor in the letter grades is proficiency on the ACT exam. Grad rate, the College and Career Readiness Index, and growth on test scores are all about 20% each. And then our English learners and their progress is valued at about 10% of the letter grade. Additionally, the state each year offers bonus points to schools, things like proficiency on the science test, which doesn't make it into the full letter grade, our exceptional student population numbers, and our participation rates on our tests, ensuring that 95% of our kids actually show up and take the test. You'll see slightly different weights for the alternative letter grades because their growth is really measured growth towards graduation, not so much growth in test scores. Okay, so let's take a look at how and which students we use to calculate each category. So when we look at proficiency, again, it's 30%, it's the biggest chunk. It's just our 11th grade. And it's just our 11th grade that they call them full academic year students. So they had to have been with us for the first 10 days, and they had to have stayed enrolled all the way up into that ACT test. The state sets cut scores for the ACT test in both English language arts and math, and you either are proficient or you're not. There's no in between for the points. Growth is an interesting one that the state came up with. I'm going to attempt to explain it to you. In the 8th grade, all of our students once upon a time sat for a test probably called AZ Merit, and they received a raw score. And whatever their raw score was, they got put in a group or a bucket with all other kids across the state that got that same raw score as them. And that bucket was sealed and put away for a little bit. And so you could argue that they are with their like peers. So my son, for example, got put in probably the 50th percentile bucket with other 50th percentile kids from Kingman and Tucson and all over, and that was that. And then 3 years later, all our juniors sit for the ACT test. They get a score.
the state opens each bucket of kids with their like peers, and they say, okay, so let's see how they did on the ACT. And they rank that particular bucket of kids. Well, anytime you rank, I will say someone has to be first and someone has to be last. Even if it's the NBA, somebody's the shortest, right? And they're all tall to me. So, so you've got these kids now that are like peers getting ranked against each other, only each other. And you'll have some kids that'll finish with high growth as compared to their academic peers, some that have medium growth, and some that have low growth. They're only being compared to those that tested just like them in the 8th grade. It's a value add model. Be what it is. We do not measure growth like that in Phoenix Union because we do not have the manpower to calculate all that. And I'm not sure it provides a whole lot of value, but it does tell us a little bit. The next measurement is the College and Career Readiness Index at 20%. That shifts from 11th grade. Now we're looking at our seniors. We're looking at everything they've done while they've been in high school. Seniors get loaded into this enormous spreadsheet that's filled with college and career indicators or experiences. Anytime in their 4 years in high school, if they participated in a college or a career-ready experience, they earn individual points as a student. The individual seniors get added up, and the school gets an average. So, for example, if one of your seniors received a 3, 4, or 5 on an AP exam, they would get a half a point next to their name. If they completed a career technical education course, they might get a half a point. If they completed the financial aid or the FAFSA, they may get a point. An internship, an industry recognized certificate. So again, there's some academic college-y ones, and then there's some CTE career ones. But together, they get a school average, and truly that is probably one of our stronger areas in Phoenix Union because of our college and career focus. Next is graduation rate. Graduation rate is split between outright graduation rate and growth from the previous year. So again, if a school outright graduation rate of 4 years is 80%, they get 80% of those points. If they improve 2% or more, they get all their growth points. If they stayed about the same within 2%, they get half the points. And if they dropped more than 2%, they lose all their growth points. And that's just the rules of the game. English learners, they're also divided by growth from one level of language acquisition to another. So maybe on the Azella, they tested from basic and went to intermediate. They're not proficient yet, but they moved a level, and so that's considered growth. The other category for English learners is reclassification, and we love it when that happens, when our intermediates become fluent English proficient on Azella, and that is the other part of the English language scores. So now that you know what it's all made up of, let's go ahead and look at the letter grades by category. And you're going to see bio and code as our A schools. No surprise. Abrill, Franklin, Metro, Digital, and Wilson as our B schools. And the remaining schools in our footprint are C schools. I want to go ahead and unpack these labels a little bit further so that you can look at the relationship between the total points and the cut score for each point. So to break into A, you've got to get an 82, unlike traditional grades in a classroom. To break into the B, you need 65 points or more, and for a C, you need 48. So I want to start by commending bioscience and code, not just for being A schools, but being at the top of the A's, beyond the rubric. In bio's case, we had to stretch out the graph a little bit, but that's truly impressive to go beyond 100 points, so congratulations. I also want to call your attention to some people to watch for, Bostrom, Central, Fairfax, and I might even say Chavez, because those schools are really just points away on the cusp of earning Bs next year, especially if they improve in graduation rates. Just 2 letter grades ago, Central was a D, and now they sit on the cusp of earning a B. Speaking of historical letter grades, let's go ahead and take a look at the last 3 administrations of the letter grades in PXU. So here we're looking at 2018, 2019. Remember, we had a bit of a pause during COVID for 2020 and 2021. And so the third final year is 2022. In 2018, I want to call your attention to the fact that we had 4 D schools. And in 2019, you'll see that 2 of those D schools moved to Cs. And in 2022, I am proud to report there are no D schools in Phoenix Union and more than double the B schools. I want to go ahead and thank our principals that are all sitting back there for their hard work and dedication to their curricular programs, to their rigor, the teachers in the classroom that make it happen every day, the support staff, and of course our district support staff as well. Many people have said that, there's always the cynics out there that say that the state was really just being nice this year. I don't know that the state's ever that nice, but that they gave grace, right? That they were just kind to schools. And this was an overinflation year of grades. And I've heard a lot of different theories. But so I wanted to provide you with the state totals so that you can see the distribution of letter grades and make your own determinations. So we're going to look at elementary first because it's a little bit different. But you'll see substantially more B schools, less C, less D, and less F, and almost identical in the A. So you could probably make that argument in elementary that it's a better year for them. But in high schools, however, we have about the same A's, maybe slightly more, 1 or 2, and B's, very much less C's, more D's, and almost the same amount of F's. So again, the state is striving for a bell curve here, so I'm not sure that theory cashes out, but I'll let you decide that. Again, next I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Tony Camp, who has also been my clicker, and he leads teaching and learning, and he's going to go ahead and highlight our strengths and our areas for growth as well, and go a little bit more into how we measure growth in Phoenix Union, which is very different than our statewide system, as I had mentioned before. Mr. Camp?
Thank you, Ms. Andrade. Good evening, President Ross, governing board members, Dr. Geston, and the Phoenix Union community. I'm going to ask Ms. Andrade to be my clicker now, so thank you in advance. As she said earlier, it is my great pleasure to highlight the great celebrations from our 2021-2022 school year data. Unfortunately, not all of my presentation is going to be glitter and balloons or fireworks because there is also some areas that I'm going to highlight that are areas for growth or improvement. As requested by the board earlier in a previous meeting, we'll also show a comparison of our district micro schools compared to other small schools. I will also point out to you, the governing board this evening, and the public, our Phoenix Union school report cards, which Ms. Andrade referred to earlier. We go above and beyond what we measure from the state and also measure some things here in Phoenix Union. And then I will close by summarizing what she mentioned in terms of a balanced assessment system and how Phoenix Union is tackling the important task of identifying student growth all the way down to the individual student level. So I'm going to first start with this next slide here. And as you see, this is one of our first celebrations. Ms. Andrade mentioned early. One of our strengths around college and career readiness, obviously, as you see here, historically as a district, our schools have scored somewhere in the teens, maybe close to 15 or even getting to 18. Over the last 2 to 3 years and through the pandemic, our schools did increase those slightly, getting closer to the 20s or even above 20. And then as you can see in the slide being presented now, we are comparing 2019 College and Career Readiness Index scores to last year's CCRI, or the College Career Readiness Index scores of 2022. Most of our schools with the green pluses showed increases in those scores. A couple of our schools dropped slightly, but are working hard to bring that all the way back up. This growth over the last few years is attributed to all the efforts around college readiness initiatives, career and certification preparations, internships, dual enrollments, just to name a few. Also, recent dedication during principal meetings to unpack their college and career readiness scores directly and intentionally has another effort toward this gain. So great celebration there. The next celebration I would like to talk about is our English learners. And as Ms. Andrade mentioned earlier, it's 10% of that measurement for school labels. And the two categories are not only the reclassification rates on AZELA, but also the proficiency growth on AZELA of our students. A great celebration, as you can see on the slide here, is 6 of our schools scored the maximum amount of points for our EL growth and EL reclassification. So celebration of them. Yes, absolutely. And 4 of our schools got near perfect scores, 9 out of 10 points in this category. And 2 schools also received 8 out of 10 points, which helped them on that letter grade tremendously. I'm going to take a little bit more time to identify some specific schools here. Under the perfect score, Trevor Brown High School, with 9 out of 10, Alhambra and Maryville High School, and with 8 out of 10, Carl Hayden. Now, all 4 of those schools have just about or more than 500 students in their EL programs. So that's a great feat for them to accomplish. Speaking of numbers in our EL programs, the 18-19 school year, across the district, we had about 2,900 students that were in our EL program. And this year, as of October data, our district has over 4,800 students in our EL program. So that is a major increase, not to mention the major scores of growth. So that's a huge accomplishment. Yeah, please give them a round of applause. It's also important to take into consideration the number of home languages we have in our community. Right around 100 home languages, not counting English or Spanish, our families speak. So it's a great efforts. The success of this work is obviously attributed to the teachers in the classroom. Their tremendous hard work, not just teaching their own classes, but picking up additional sections, or point twos as we call them, because of the staff shortage that we are facing during and post-pandemic. Our education support professionals that are also in the classroom, helping with language acquisition. Our counselors who work hard to make sure that they are accurately placed in the right level. Not to mention our professional development department, who not only has focused on work district-wide, but also intentionally around language development for our ELs. And of course, our ELD program coordinators. We can't forget the data technicians that are behind the scenes working tirelessly, and especially our student-parent liaisons who are on our campus that test and test and test and test and work with our families. So, of course, I also want to thank our administrators that just work tirelessly on our student supports. On to our next slide is another great celebration, and that's around our dual enrollment efforts in the district. As Ms. Andrade mentioned earlier, dual enrollment does work with us and for us around our college and career readiness index markers, specifically in that blue category, and strong and supportive efforts towards college readiness. I'm going to describe this slide briefly, and I just ask that you focus on the left side for a little bit. You see at the bottom there the 2018-2019 school year. The gray bar indicates the number of students that are in one or more dual enrollment classes. And during the 18-19 school year, we had just over 1,000 students in Phoenix Union in one or more dual enrollment classes. The blue bar below shows the number of classes that our students are participating in. So obviously, our dual enrollment students take advantage of more than one dual enrollment class throughout the year. You see the impact COVID had on dual enrollment as well through the 1920 school year and the 2021 school year. As we worked toward recovery and into last school year, which is, by the way, the data, just to remind everyone, that was used for the calculation of letter grades, back up to about 1,100 students participating in a dual enrollment class. I am pleased to also announce, if you can click it one more time for me, that this school year, we have increased that number to over 2,100 students accessing more than 3,100 dual enrollment classes. That is a huge increase, and that increase is attributed to multi-year efforts that are obviously paying off. Not only the onboarding of a dual enrollment coordinator starting last year and into this year, but also enhanced relationships with partnering post-secondary institutions, primarily Maricopa Community College District. They're our biggest partners, but we also partner with other institutions and universities. Recent efforts to include systemic business and industry partnerships have also helped and attributed to this gain. I'm also very proud of the team for this work in the Teaching and Learning Division. We do have continued work to do, however, in the dual enrollment area around systems, sharpening up those systems even more, and strengthening our efforts and access for students in our ACE and Hoop of Learning program. Another strength that I would like to highlight next, if you could click the next slide, thank you, is our overall growth scores. So as Ms. Andrade mentioned, proficiency counts is 30%, and then the next is our growth. She mentioned the details about 8th grade, put in a bucket, and then recalculated in 11th grade in comparison to their peers. It's great to highlight a few of our campuses, and I'm going to do so by starting with Phoenix Coding Academy. You see that they received the maximum score, 20 points for growth for their, from their students, their juniors last year. I attribute this to the efforts of cross-curricular learning that takes place over at Phoenix Coding Academy. It shows great promise. Following them are Franklin Police and Fire High School, and then in third place, or right shortly behind them, is one of our comprehensive campuses, Betty Fairfax High School, that received the Achievement Award this last year, obviously. So great job to all these schools for the growth and efforts. The next slide I would go over is quite detailed, so I'll take a little bit more time on this one. But in a previous board meeting, Board Member Marquez asked to compare micro schools. And so what I'm going to do is first define a micro school just to make sure everybody understands what we're discussing. You see them there, the Camelback Montessori, the Arch program at Cesar Chavez, and the Gifted and Talented program at Maryvale. Now, a micro school is basically a school inside a larger comprehensive campus with a specialty focus. And our specialty schools are just that, the brick and mortars, smaller schools with a specialty focus. So I'm going to do my best to describe. I hope I have not used too many acronyms tonight because I'm working hard on not doing that. We use them too much. I'm going to briefly describe this slide here, and for comparison, it's important and it's also cleaner to compare the average scores. Okay, the next slide I'm going to be talking about is pass rate, but for now, we are looking at the average scores in ACT. There's 5 different categories within that test: math, science, English, and reading, followed by writing over on the far right. Now, it may look like in this graph that our students aren't good writers by the data, but that's not entirely accurate. Without having to put too many slides in this presentation, I added it together. But the pass rate for the first 4 tests is 18, a score of 18. And the writing is a score of 8. So it's a different range score. And as you can see, our micro school proficiency is comparable, or in some cases higher, than some of our specialty schools. The bar on the far right, the maroon colored, that actually is the district's, entire district juniors' average scores for last year. And now it's time to move on to an area of challenge. And so I'm going to start. There go the balloons and fireworks, right? They're gone. Proficiency has been a struggle for Phoenix Union for many, many years. We can't control how our students come into us, but we work really hard on preparation for the ACT exam. Now, this slide describes the percent of juniors that passed the ACT exam. And just so you know, the pass rate is a score of 18, but these are the percent of juniors that have met that score. And from the 2020-21 school year to the 21-22 school year, you see that our English percent pass rate dropped a little bit. However, our math, reading, and science percentages did increase. You could also attribute this to, and if I can remind you, the increase in the number of EL students over the last few years in Phoenix Union. Over on the far right, you see the state averages for percent. While this is some increase and shows promise, we still have a lot of work to do in preparation for students for ACT, because this exam is not just about the content, it's also about the pacing. And students are timed on these tests, and we have a lot of work to do for not only ACT prep, but also preparing them for time tests. If we can move to the next slide. Another area of more recent challenge is our graduation rate. Traditionally, Phoenix Union has been very proud that our graduation rates have stayed above the state average. Now, as we know, the COVID pandemic has impacted different communities in a variety of ways. We know that our students, through the pandemic, had to drop out. They had to work. They had to help support their families. You'll see, I won't talk too much about the dropout rate, but the dropout rate with Phoenix Union over the last few years has stayed in line with the state average. However, the graduation rate from 2021 to 2022 dropped a couple percentage points. It is very important, as you see at the bottom of that graph, that the official graduation rate is 1 year delayed. And what that means is the state uses the graduation rate from the previous year, from 2021, for our letter grades for 2022. So the graduation rate is always a year behind when it comes to the calculations. You can consider that 2022 graduation rate preliminary. There's still some adjustments that can be made, and it may go up just a little bit, but this school year shows great promise, and all of our schools are trending in the right direction around graduation rate. Okay, next slide. And so that ends the celebrations and challenges with accountability measurements from the state. But Phoenix Union doesn't stop there. This slide shows our district report cards. It includes the state measurements that we've talked about, but it also shows measurements that align with our district's strategic plan. This includes scholarships totals, post-secondary enrollment, advanced course enrollment and performance, just to name a few. I do encourage our public that's here tonight to go to our school websites, as you will find these school report cards indicative for each school and the data for each of our schools. What you're seeing here is just the top half of the district's school report card, and then the next slide, if you move to the next slide, that's the bottom half. And governing board members, I'll just remind you that you received these in your packet, and I encourage you to look through them after the meeting is over, or at least after the presentation's over. Now I'm going to close out our presentation on achievement, and I'm excited about this opportunity, if I can just tell you, to speak about achievement tonight, and summarize where state accountability measurements fall within our assessment system, and where Phoenix Union's work to balance that assessment system works out. So we talked about all these other ones. All these measurements over on the right, you see summative measurements there, and then you also see on the left of this diagram formative or diagnostic measurements. I'm going to take just a moment to describe the difference between the two. We often call our summative assessments, or summative assessments typically are those end of the year or end of those semester assessments. You see state standardized testing there, or reclassification. We often refer to summative assessments as assessment of learning. See the picture at the end? It's important data, but not a whole lot you can do with it for those particular students. You can learn from it, work for the next group of students, so on and so forth, but that's exactly what it is, summative, summarizing their overall proficiency. In terms of diagnostic or formative assessments, we often refer to these assessments as assessments for learning. Something you can do about that data as you move throughout the semester or the year. These often are classroom checks or exit tickets. Our PLCs are encouraged to collaborate together on common formative assessments so that they can look at that data and then do something with it in terms of tiered interventions for the students in real time, immediately. If you were to use another example of a summative assessment versus a formative assessment, I'm going to use this because I'm going to talk about adaptive benchmarks next. If you use one single assessment and you give that same assessment to all the students, it's got the same questions, it's the same level that is being assessed. When you complete that assessment, you pretty much know if that student is either there or not. In comparison, computer adaptive benchmark assessments do just that. They adapt to the student's level. As the student moves throughout the assessment, if they're not showing proficiency, the questions drop a little bit in level to find out exactly where they are and to find out exactly what skill they are still needing to work on. And so I am pleased to discuss that as we continue to recover, so with the support from ESSER funds, the Computer Adaptive Benchmarks, or NWEA assessments, is something that Phoenix Union committed to and is in our strategic plan. We started with a pilot last school year, and we piloted this benchmark assessment tool in our freshman math courses. This year, we fully implemented NWEA, or the Computer Adaptive Benchmarks, in all of our grade levels, in both English and in math. And if I were to click the next slide here, I'm going to show you a little bit about how this data works that we're very excited about. So I'd like to bring your attention to the bottom of that image. You'll see it 9 and 10. That's the grade level. So 9th grade is what I would like you to focus on. We piloted with the 9th grade last year. The 10th grade is there, but there is not enough data to make an accurate assessment, so I would like to focus on the 9th grade. And the students last year during the pilot took 2 exams. They took it in the middle of the year, and then they took it at the end of the year. And what you see on this data is the actual freshman students that did participate in this pilot from Carl Hayden Community High School. And I'd like to say a little shout out to Jesse Hoover and his partners in the freshman PLC. I haven't even told you what to clap about yet, but that's okay. What you see on this graph here is our 2 images. One is a yellow or orange diamond, depending upon how it's turning out on the slide. That indicates the expected growth that the students who took the pre and post test should have had. And as you can see, they went way beyond double of that expected growth on this assessment. So a great shout out, and now we should clap for the Carl Hayden PLC team for doing a great job. This shows that they focused on a guaranteed and viable curriculum. They worked on formative assessments. They worked as a PLC, and they showed great growth. As we continue to recover from the pandemic and measure student academic growth of our current students, including those that come to us for the first year, it's important to know where our students are when they start the year as well as when they grow along the way. And I would just like to say also that this is just a summary report. As soon as we're done here in January with the mid-year tests for this school year, we will receive this data right down to the individual student level by skill. And so what I would like to end tonight's presentation with is this. School improvement is very arduous work. It's work that cannot be left to chance or luck. And one size definitely does not fit all for our students. How we use the data, this data, to drive instruction can be a game changer. And with this strategic plan commitment of student growth, or lack of growth, is clearer by skill for each of our individual students. And this is where that power of the data will help further support students' academic progress that fits perfectly within our district's commitment of ensuring a multi-tiered system of supports for the students of Phoenix Union. And at this time, I believe it's time to move for discussion and questions.
Thank you both for your reports. Members, do you have any questions or comments? Yeah. Member Napa.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this report. I can definitely tell that there's a lot of data that went into this. I have questions specifically around the dual enrollment slides, and I know that you did mention ACE and Hoop of Learning, and just so that we're clear, dual enrollment is a program where students can earn high school and college credits in the classroom at their high schools, whereas ACE and Hoop of Learning are concurrent enrollment programs where they take classes outside of their high school environment in a college, on a college campus. Both programs are set so students get the college rigor, and they're held to that standard. My question is for dual enrollment, because PXU has 22 schools, I would be amazed and impressed if dual enrollment was at all 22 schools, but I would assume that they're not. How many schools is dual enrollment offered at?
Board Member Ross, President Ross, Board Member Napa, thank you for the question. I'm comfortable to say that almost all of our schools have dual enrollment offered. I believe we may have one or two schools or alternative schools that may not have teachers that are necessarily dual enrollment certified, but our initiative to advance dual enrollment includes providing some assistance to our teachers that might be close to receiving dual enrollment certification, to expand those to all of our schools. But I believe with the exception of our alternative schools, we have it at all of our schools.
So like 18, 20? How many schools?
Well, including micro schools and all of those others, minus the two alternative schools, all of our other schools have dual enrollment.
Please give me a number.
I believe it's 17.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question, I did hear that there are some systems barriers that can prohibit students from actually enrolling in our dual enrollment classes. And I did hear you say Maricopa Community Colleges and then other partners. So what are those system barriers, and who are our other partners outside of Maricopa?
Sure. Let me start with, President Ross and Board Member Napa, thank you for the question. Let me start with your first question in terms of some of the barriers. I wish we had more time this evening to talk about all of them, but I'll try to identify the first two. One of the barriers is the certification for our teachers. We're working really hard to increase the number of our teachers that are dual enrollment certified. That's one barrier. Another one is basically communicating to our students in advance that they have the opportunity to participate in dual enrollment courses. In the past, it's been the luck of the draw. If you happen to, wind up in Mr. Silvas's math class and he is dual enrollment certified, you have the opportunity to participate in it. What we've worked on with our counseling team is to identify in advance our dual enrollment opportunities and our dual enrollment interested students. So when they go through the end of the fall or the beginning of the spring semester course selections for the following year, we are working on being much more intentional on our students being aware of those opportunities that exist. So that's one barrier as well, communication.
I have several more questions.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but did you want me to answer your second question on there?
Sorry.
We are working with ASU as well currently to provide dual enrollment opportunities from ASU. Specifically with Camelback, we're working on a pilot to increase those opportunities from ASU.
You may not know this, but I'm wondering what the percentage is of our PXU students, dual enrollment students, who utilize Maricopa grants in order to pay for tuition. Maricopa grants is allocated, each campus has Maricopa grants allocations that go towards funding Maricopa, or actually their campus tuition for students, and especially for dual enrollment, students who qualify for free or reduced lunches, and that is a first-come, first-served grant. The other question that I have, specifically related to that, how many students could not take dual enrollment, specifically because of they didn't qualify for the grant, or they missed out on that grant because it ran out. The other thing that I'm wondering too is because these college classes do count as part of their post-secondary record, which also makes, could potentially impact their eligibility for financial aid. So students need to meet satisfactory academic progress, SAP, and if they don't pass their classes with at least a C or higher, it could put them in jeopardy of not receiving federal aid or Pell Grant. I don't see in this data how many students were enrolled, what were the passing grades of A's, B's, and C's. The other thing that I would like to see in this data, National Clearinghouse data, which we know does lag 2 years behind. So as a board member, I would like to know how offering dual enrollment credits actually help our students towards degree attainment, whether it's associate degree, 4-year degree, and what that time was, because being a college student is all about maximizing your time. These dual enrollment credits could really help our students earn their grades or earn their degrees, their certifications faster. I want to know how PXU is capturing that data. The other thing I wanted to know is, yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, nope. I don't see, you did mention ACE and Hoopa Learning concurrent enrollment. How many of our PXU students participate in those programs? And ACE is at all 10 campuses, Hoopa Learning is at 9. The other thing I wonder about ACE and Hoopa Learning, since they're concurrent enrollment programs, how many of those students reverse transfer their credits back to PXU? I know that there is a policy and a process in our marks and grading manual. However, as an administrator of a concurrent enrollment program, that process is unclear, and I know my students at GCC are not reverse transferring their credits to help them graduate and potentially take other classes that speak to their passions, especially those classes that speak to their identities. Making space in their college, or I'm sorry, their high school schedules is really important. If they take English 101 and 102, so they don't have to take senior level English, making space for something else. Thank you.
President Ross and Clerk Napa, for Ms. Andrade and Mr. Camp, answer things you know, and if not, it sounds like a follow-up report, spreadsheets, data is most appropriate at this time, but if there's anything you feel like you need to add, otherwise we'll give a full report to all 7 board members.
Thank you, Dr. Guestin. President Ross and Clerk Napa, thank you for the questions. I don't have all of this information up here. What I can let you know about 2 of your questions. Number one, the school report cards that we handed out on the top left of each one of those talks about post-secondary enrollment. That is from the clearinghouse itself, but I will be happy to provide some additional data from clearinghouse as you requested. And then also in terms of the percentage of students who used the Maricopa grant, I do not have the percentage, but I do know that we completely exhausted those funds. In fact, I believe it was Phoenix College and even possibly South Mountain that worked really hard to increase those grant funds specifically for Phoenix Union. So we have exhausted those and continue to work closely with Maricopa Community College districts, but I'll be happy to get this data to you as soon as possible.
President Ross and Board Member Napa and entire governing board, just a couple comments. One, thank you. We know how important dual enrollment is. The data behind students who get college credit in high school and go on to college is just incredible. That's also a testament to CTE programs and other, anytime you can, get access to college early, the data is just remarkable. I would say the other thing that I know that our team, just candidly for the governing board to know in terms of a systems barrier, when you do work with Phoenix Union, you sign an IGA with Phoenix Union, it's Phoenix Union. Maricopa's colleges are all very independent. And so we don't get to have one English dual enrollment program with Maricopa. We have to develop one with Phoenix College and South Mountain Community College. And depending on their president and their faculty and because of how Maricopa is set up, and again, we're very proud of our partnership with Maricopa, dual enrollment's very complicated because it's not one system, it's a system of multiple schools. And that's been a challenge over the years for us.
Thank you, Clerk Napa, for that insight. Board members, do you have any other questions? Member Power.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And first off, Ms. Andrade and Mr. Camp, thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate the the time that it takes to put all of this data together for the board. And as you all know, I'm very passionate about improving student outcomes and student achievement here at Phoenix Union. So I'm grateful that we are going to have this as a standing item going forward so that we can really center our conversations here at the board level around improving academic achievement. I would, and I can talk to you guys offline about just data requests. I'd love to even just sit down with you and look at the data a little bit more closely. I have two questions, and I'll start with, around the dropout rates. We obviously saw an increase. I know we've seen an increase across the state. And we've also seen a significant increase in chronic absenteeism across the state. So can you talk a little bit about how we monitor for chronic absenteeism? Obviously, if kids are no longer showing up to school, and how are we monitoring? How are we providing targeted interventions and supporting students and families to make sure that kids can get to school? And any voiceover that you have on what those barriers might be. I was at a statewide convening today. We were talking about chronic absenteeism across the state, and so it's top of mind for me about how it's showing up here in Phoenix Union and what supports we need to put in place to better support our students, their families, and of course our employees to keep kids in school.
Well, thank you for that question, President Ross. I'm still getting used to that. And Member Para, it's a great question. We do closely monitor our dropouts and look for trends. I believe there's a monthly report that comes to several of us to just kind of keep up with it as the year goes on. It is a one time a year report from the state. As opposed to grad rate, that's a cumulative 4-year journey. We know that I'll just kind of start by saying we know most of our dropouts, most of them are going to be 12 plus, 12th grade. Unfortunately, a lot of them are also English learners. We've learned that. It does often start with chronic absenteeism, and other times they don't ever come back. They just drop out. We do have student liaisons at every school, very large comprehensive schools, that are out there reaching out to our students to monitor attendance, to try to get a hold of parents, bilingual, doing what they can. But oftentimes the status or the number, changes or it becomes unknown. We are really looking forward to re-engaging through an engagement center, all of our dropouts over the last few years from the pandemic, and re-engaging them in school in a different type of way with more flexibility, so that they can stay in school and work or whatever it was that forced the dropout. So we continue to monitor that data, and I'd be happy to show it to you, both trend-wise and real-time.
President Ross and members of the board and board member Para, a couple other things come to mind too. We, governing board recently approved job descriptions for student recruiters. And the first job, by the way, we hired 3 student recruiters. They're all recent Phoenix Union alumni, so we're very excited about that. They're placed regionally, but their very first task, and this goes more to dropout, but as you alluded to, chronic absenteeism usually leads to a dropout. Their first task over the next couple of months is to call virtually every dropout and every child that's left us and have a personal conversation about why you left and what was it that we could have done to keep you, and maybe how can we get you back. And so we'll have a lot of very clear data from conversations with our students. And I think the other thing that is just a reality in Phoenix Union, in urban systems, and in communities where students or parents are working 1 to 2 to 3 jobs, transportation, right? Students have to get up on their own, get to a bus, sometimes 2 bus stops, 3 bus stops, and not many students are blessed like my son that gets dropped off right out front of the school every single day. And so I do know that just general transportation and hardworking parents and setting your own alarm is just a reality for many of our students. And I think if you had teachers raise their hand out there. Tardies and absences is like one of the number one issues that we struggle with. So you're spot on around absenteeism for sure.
Thank you so much. Member Ross, I had or President Ross, I am so sorry. Madam Chair, I'm going to stick to Madam Chair. That works for me. A couple of follow-ups. So on proficiency is really low. And I know that it's low. We've taken a hit. And again, this is not unique to Phoenix Union. It is not a Phoenix Union challenge. It's a challenge across the state. It's a challenge across the country. And so for me, like, this has to be a big area of focus for us in the short and in the long run. Because if we don't improve these numbers, the likelihood that kids will leave our system, get to post-secondary, and not attain a post-secondary degree is very high, right? So how are we going to center our conversations here at the board level around addressing this really, really big challenge that we have ahead? So I guess my question for you, and Dr. Geston, please feel free to jump in, is just, what do you need from the board to center student achievement and actually improve outcomes? What do you need from us? And what do our employees need from us?
We're taking turns, I guess, huh?
No one wants to answer your question, Barbara.
Yeah.
No, go. I have a couple of thoughts, but you guys give your just initial reactions, and I'll share some as well.
Yes, thank you, President Ross. Member Parra, thank you for the question. It's great to hear you ask that. I think it needs to be in the center of everyone's work, starting here in the governing boardroom, all the way down to the administration on the campuses, all the way down to the individual classrooms. I would like a little more time with my chief officer and academic leadership team to make a list for you, and then I will refer to Dr. Geston for a comment.
Yeah, so President Ross and Board Member Parr, thank you for asking that. Interestingly, as I was doing one-on-one meetings with new governing board members, Board Member Oliver asked the same question. We were looking at our current proficiency data, feeder pattern proficiency data, and she said, what do you need from us? And so I do think there's a few things. One, when we come to you with a new initiative, new assessment, the teaching and learning framework, and sometimes that requires us to push hard. Not everybody likes that. When we come to you and say, hey, this is really important to drive achievement, we'll continue to ask for your full support in doing so. Number two, and we alluded to it tonight, and it's part of the answer I gave Board Member Oliver, and I'll continue to say it, which is our team spends too much time talking about safety and not enough time talking about achievement. And Ms. Andrade is our Chief Achievement Officer. I would hate to ask her publicly how much time she spends on safety versus achievement. Don't answer that. But I can tell you it's hours and hours and hours and hours every week. And so I do know that when we come to you and say, board, work with us on safety policy, even tackle the tough issue of policing and the tough issue of help us get to the right solutions so that when we meet as an executive team and Ms. Andrade meets with her team, it's about achievement, not about safety, because I can guarantee you most of our conversations, and every exec team member would agree we spend too much time talking about those issues. And then the third, I think, is that we will at some point need you to continue to use your voice at the Capitol. And Senator Alston knows this really well. We still don't have full-day kindergarten in Arizona. We don't have access to really high-quality preschool in Arizona. And so if we're going to have high-quality proficiency at high school, it starts with literacy and numeracy and wraparound. And so I know we often say, our feeder pattern isn't sending kids that are ready. Well, guess what? If you interview them, they don't have the resources necessary to have high-quality literacy, numeracy, and, by the way, to provide the full wraparound services for families and students, because we not only provide education, we provide health services and wraparound. But we'll provide ongoing answers, but certainly those are a couple that are top of mind for us.
Thank you. Any other members, any other thoughts or questions? Thank you both for your report. Yes, Mr. Marquez.
Sure. Dr. Gessen, could we go back to the slide 3? I just had a question about the what changed. So slide 3 is the first slide describing how the school letter grades are categorized. When the pause took place, this formula changed, and I was just wondering if you or the education leadership team could sort of describe what changed in the formula, and then also like where would our letter grades be today under the old formula?
Great. President Ross and Thea and Tony, what changed from 2019 versus today?
I mean, aside from the growth on the test might have been, we used AZ Merit instead of ACT. The percentages have stayed fairly close to the same. What changes is the cut scores, if that makes any sense. In other words, what it takes to get into the A category. One year might be an 82. A few years ago, it might have been a 85. And so each, and I can look historically at the cut scores and provide those to the board. I don't have them memorized. But again, it's a distribution. It's a bell curve, thank you. And so you're going to see the cut scores shift slightly from year to year. But typically the formula, I've served on the ATAC committee downtown. The formula is complex enough that it doesn't shift. The test may change. But the formulas for this, they may add more things to the CCRI. We fought very hard to get FAFSA on there. It wasn't on there the first time. So you may start to see more certifications on the CCRI, little tweaks like that, but in a sense, it's been this formula since 2019 as far as the pie chart, if that makes sense.
And President Ross and Board Member Marquez, I think a couple other things too. We live in a state that has the menu of assessments. And so you can choose different assessments. We chose ACT. The truth is that's a higher standard. And we knew that could have meant lower letter grades, but the truth is we have to set the highest of standards. So there are other assessments that are given that probably could have less rigor and therefore have better letter grades, but we did choose ACT as our anchor assessment because we thought we had to set the highest of standards, even if that harmed us, and ultimately, as you saw, it did not this year. And then just for a visual sake, for those of you, as Thea was talking about cut score, as you see up there,
I'll stop driving.
Yeah, we were dual clicking. There we go. So as you see up there, this year to be an A is an 82. Next year, I'll give you one example. This year they thought about saying an A is 90 and above, a B is 80 and above, a C is 70 and above. Well, the data may not have changed, just that cut score changes. So that's the other thing that every year, if you watch State Board of Ed, they're fighting over cut scores. I want a 62, I want a 81. So the cut score becomes a political game and a bell curve map as well.
Dr. Gessen, if I may, just one more detail back to that other slide. Can I click? Sorry. This slide right here, Board Member Marquez, you'll see in the growth category. It identifies as new, the 8th grade AZM2 to ACT, that's new as well. In the past, we've used something called student growth target, whereas this, they had to use student growth percentile. So that's another example. But other than that, just like Ms. Andrade said, it hasn't changed that much other than cut scores.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. All set. Thanks, Madam President.
Thank you for your time. The next item is 8C, discussion of the school's safety, health, and wellness, including the PXU Next Gen Safety and Security Plan with potential action. Dr. G.
All right, President Ross, this is our monthly update to you on all things safety in Phoenix Union. We will have this agenda on our board agenda all the way through June, and Mr. Correa usually provides a brief update. There have been times when a member of the Student Safety Committee comes to give an update. That's not the case tonight, but I will turn over to Mr. Correa to give a brief update. He'll answer any questions, and then I'll provide a couple final comments as well. Mr. Correa, our Executive Director for Safety for Phoenix Union. Go for it, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gaston, and good evening, President Ross, members of the Governing Board. Buenas tardes a todos. And I'm handling the clicker. I don't have a clicker here. Somebody will There we go. And as Dr. Gesson mentioned, monthly we bring to the governing board an update on law enforcement usage and expenditures. And so for the month of December, we've had 72 officers available for day use to support our campuses, and then a total of 13 officers available to support our evening events. For the month of December, the focus has been on basketball. A total combined for the month of December of $42,484. And just as a note, just a couple of notes here that I think are important, is that we normally have shared this in the past, but I think with the new board and the brand new year, I think it's worth repeating that officers are not located on our campuses. They're located on precincts. They're off campus and only respond to our campuses for very specific reasons, including required law-related infractions or incidents, and or when there are issues around safety to prevent harm or injury, such as a social media threat. Those are very specific things, and we do quite a bit of training on that from principal, assistant principal, staff level. And then the one more slide that I have here is that we also bring an update to the governing board around the work, some of the highlights, some of the priorities that the Student Safety Committee is engaged in currently. And just as a note, Clerk Seisha Napa is part of that committee and has been part of this our Student Safety Committee, as well as member Jennifer Hernandez. So thank you all for the good work that you have been doing in this really important Student Safety Committee. Just a couple of highlights here for the slide here is that one of the significant tasks that the governing board, as they created this committee, empowered the committee to complete, is to involve our community, our stakeholders, get their feedback, their insights on their thoughts around improving safety. And so we have dedicated 4 listening sessions. The first one took place in December there at Central High School. The next one happens to be next week at Betty Fairfax. The one in February 11th at Carl Hayden, and then a final one on March 4th at Central High School. In addition, we value the feedback of our stakeholders, and so if stakeholders, members cannot go to these sessions, we also are providing a safety survey. These QR codes are live. And so unless everybody jumps on there and crashes them, they should be working. So this is available. We have communicated this out. We'll continue to communicate these links, these surveys for our broader community, as well as our students, our staff can take advantage of that feedback. The other piece that we're focused on this past time with our Student Safety Committee has been on the school safety proposed models that Dr. Gesson shared with the governing board back in August, and that was part of the work assigned by the governing board to this committee to review and recommend as part of those proposals. The other piece that's important is that as of December, this past December, the governing board also created a motion where the Student Safety Committee is to review and understand, utilize the ASU report that was created on September 2021 as also a document to consider in the development of recommendations for the use of law enforcement. And so that is slated to be studied at the next meeting, which is slated for January 25th. So the ASU report and then relevant participatory budgeting relevant data, that was part of that motion, and so we will take that on. The committee will study that at the next meeting. The other thing that I think is important in terms of committee attendance, that I think just an update here, that our committee meets every 2 weeks. As well as just committee attendance and participation. So originally there were 21 committee members. Of those 21, 17 are still participating. And of those 17, about 14 or 15 members attend the regular meetings. And so with that, I open up for discussion, and then I'll then turn it back to Dr. Geston.
Thank you for your report. Members, do you have any questions or comments? Yes.
Question, can we get an update on the safety committee, community meetings, and the survey collection process? And then also, well, I see that we have the committee attendance on this slide.
Yep, President Ross and members of the board, we'll give you a report on the first one, and then committee attendance. We thought that was important to note. 21 was a big committee to start with. 17 we would say, just not necessarily on the committee anymore. We did have one meeting. We didn't meet quorum, but have averaged 14 to 15. I know in the past some of the board members have asked, does the committee have any recommendations for us? Would the committee president have any recommendations? I can tell you the only thing that Mr. Correa and Katie Gibson-McLean have discussed is 17 is a great number. That's a lot. And after missing quorum, they wondered if instead of the committee just being 21, we just called the committee 17, and therefore quorum's 9, not 11. And so that's the only thing that they talked about maybe coming to the board to say, hey, 17 is a good, strong number. Let's call it 17 so we don't run into quorum issues. You can or can't take that as a potential recommendation, but 14 to 15 a week's pretty good. But I can tell you the only conversation has been around potential quorum 21 versus 17.
And speaking on that, I'd like to make a motion to remove the no-shows and the consistently absent members, specifically Alvin Gray, Shannon Hayes, Monica Saunders, and Erica De La Rosa.
There's been a motion made to remove no-shows from the safety committee. Is there a second?
I second.
There's been a motion made by Clerk Napa and a second by Member Hernandez. All those in favor? All those against? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
President Ross, we might have some more discussion.
Yeah, I had a question.
Sorry,
and
go
it
ahead.
could be separate than that motion. I was just wanted to actually hear from board members Napa and Hernandez, your experience on the school safety committee, and then I appreciate the recommendation to remove the inactive members. But when we created the school safety committee back in August,
thank you.
Can you guys hear me? Sorry,
Yes, that's
not
better.
talking into the microphone. I don't think we consulted the board policies, BDF and BDE, and so I was just wondering if this was an opportunity to make sure this ad hoc committee is in line with that structure.
President Ross, members of the board, those policies are the ad hoc board committee. We've reviewed those a couple of times, still feel like we're in line with the ad hoc committee, but we're happy to go back and review those policies to make sure that we're still in line.
Okay. Well, absent that, I think the helping to achieve quorum will help move this along more quickly. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Board Member Napa.
Any other discussion?
If I could add to that, Board Member, President Ross. Yeah, I think that's really going to help us significantly in terms of just having the 17. It's going to help us to make quorum and then obviously move the committee forward. So thank you for that.
Can I just add for the record, I was an aye on that vote. I think I was waiting for discussion, but I'm an
Thank
aye,
you.
so.
Please note that Member Marquez was an aye on the most recent vote. Noted.
Great. President Ross and members of the board, just my last couple comments, and then we can move on to the next on this other. First of all, just so you know, the state safety grant is back and available for social workers. And so we are reapplying for social worker grants under the guise of health, safety, and wellness. We also, as a part of the safety grant at the state, it does allow school systems to apply for potential law enforcement funds. And so because that's a part of the committee, we are told our grants team they could apply for the law enforcement funds. Doesn't mean we need to use them, but in case the committee comes to you with a recommendation for a model that could use grants and not our money, we did give our grants team permission to apply for that. Again, we could deny that in the future if need be. And then just want to bring one other thing back to the radar is the governing board in August approved us to and asked us to move forward with a student advocate job description. That's still in the works. It's actually very complicated because the student advocate role, in theory, would work with city advocate, and that's a lot of data sharing and so our team's working on it. It's still on the radar. For the new board members, we do have copies tonight if you want to see the most recent draft of the student advocate role. I just want to make sure that you know, board, we're following up on that motion as well. That's it for safety.
Board Member Parr.
Just one quick question, kind of related to that, because I know we were having the parent liaison roles as well. Do you have a status update on that, Dr. G?
Yeah, President Ross, members of the board. So the governing board in December approved 2 parent job descriptions. One, parent coordinator. Those are regional. Those are, if they're not posted already, we posted soon. Those are for next school year. And then the parent liaison, which is 1 per campus, will be implemented a little bit later, and our team's working on that. But the coordinator, both job descriptions approved. Coordinator, I'm not sure, Ms. Andrade, if you know if it's posted.
It will be posted. I will let you know as soon as it does post. Hopefully, we get a lot of qualified and interested candidates in this workforce crisis, and we're excited to bring them on, train, and start the school year 23-24 with 3 coordinators.
Thank you.
President Ross and members of the board and community, I do think it's probably worth, especially with 3 new board members, to highlight those job descriptions. Phoenix Union does a lot of incredible work, and we, of course, have areas of struggle and weakness. And one of those, certainly not for a lack of effort, is parent engagement. And part of that is the individuals on our campuses responsible for parent engagement in many ways have been, aside from admin, have been our community liaisons. Well, our community liaisons really are doing resource distribution. They run food banks and clothing banks, help families in crisis, help students in transition, and that's not parent engagement and parent connectedness. And so in partnership with the governing board, we brought 2 job descriptions. One, a coordinator, as I said, that's regional, just like our regional model that people have heard about in our student safety committee. And their job is going to help big picture coordination of parent engagement and parent connectedness. Work with district office, work with schools, make sure we have the right trainings, the right opportunities. So more of a systems, big picture parent engagement. That's the parent coordinator role. And then thereafter, we actually approved a job description to have a parent liaison on every large campus as well as split for some of our small schools. And their only job is connectedness and engagement with parents. And it will be game-changing when we are there. It will take us, we're a large system. It'll take us a while to get there, but we realize part of the reason we're not doing parent engagement and connectedness well is we need multiple who eat, sleep, and breathe parent engagement, period. And so those are coming.
Follow-up. Yeah. A quick follow-up. So just to that quick point, Dr. G, with our Parent Educator Academy, the school systems that have dedicated parent liaisons, the program is so much more successful because it is not something that falls off the plate of a teacher, an administrator, a community liaison. It is their sole focus to work with our team at All in Ed on the parent engagement program. So I'm so excited that we're doing this and that we're making this investment in the community because it really will be a game changer. We've seen it in real time. The systems that have them, it's hands down a game changer. So really, really excited.
Clerk Napa.
Thank you. Coming back to the safety committee, we have very specific goals for our in-person listening sessions and our online survey. Mr. Correa, can you update us on what those goals are, what our actuals are, and because of the low turnout rate from the Central High School listening session, what's Iconico's plan to get back on track? And I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now. My other concern that was brought up in the safety meeting centers around anonymity for faculty and staff to fill out the online survey. Staff and faculty are concerned that they have to put in their email and their name in order to access the survey. So we are actually losing out on a lot of data and a lot of input because of the trust that faculty and staff, they don't want their responses and their names to come back and retaliation or to be reported back. I know that in the safety committee, we were pushing, or certain members were pushing for an anonymous option, but that's not going to be possible due to we don't want bots or spammers to be filling out the online survey anonymously and correcting data. So can you please speak to goals, metrics, actuals, and then the concerning the survey online and having to put your name and your email address?
For sure. And President Ross and Claudio and Thea, again, what you have data and information for today, give, and otherwise we can provide a full report as well.
Thank you, President Ross and Clerk Napa. Just a couple of things. One is that the goal is 10%, that we at least get 10% of our stakeholders feedback through listening sessions or as combined with the survey results. So 10%. Iconico did recognize in yesterday's meeting that they fell short of that, and so they specifically talked about strategies to improve that. And so we talked about that yesterday. What I think we might want to do is obviously share a report with this governing board and possibly invite our partner in this work to come and share that. But there's specific things that they have. I don't have them on hand right now, to Dr. G's point. So definitely want to bring that accurate report to you. In terms of the email, that's a very valid point that was discussed yesterday at the Student Safety Committee. And again, Ms. Clerk Napa, you did a great job of just summarizing that. On the one hand, we want to gather as much anonymous information, around the surveys from stakeholders. They feel comfortable sharing that information and not having that fear of like, hey, they're going to know who said whatever they said. And on the other hand, we want to make sure that it's not just a robot, right? Just, providing the same information over and over. Having heard this again, I think we need to revisit that at the committee level. So we'll have a planning team examine that and bring some proposals to the team, the Student Safety Committee team, to examine that and then move forward with it. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
President Ross and team, not to give you any more to do, but we did an SRO survey like 4 years ago, and we had over 10,000 students, like 70% of our employees, and I think 2,000 or 3,000 parents. Like that's a high number compared to what we're seeing now. You find out what's the difference between when we were running a survey versus someone else. How did we get half of our stakeholder group, and now the goal's 10%? I know survey languages change. I know there's a lot that's changed, but I'm just curious the difference between how we approached it when we did it versus Iconico, and see if there's a lesson learned.
Will do. Thank you.
Any other discussion? The next item is 9I. That's I, right? Yep. Approval of the Memorandum of Agreement, Classified Employment Step Qualifications for the 2022-2023 school year. Dr. G.
All right, President Ross, members of the board, we're down to our final couple action items of the night. I'm going to just talk about this item and the next item together, and in fact, a board member could choose to combine these two if they so chose, because they're the similar item. This item and the next item have to do with compensation for next year. Phoenix Union already approved for eligible employees that they will get a step on the salary schedule next year. There's always a conversation about how long do you have to work this year to qualify for next year's step? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 9 months? Is it all year? And so we worked with our associations, came up with a specific date for classified, a specific date for administrators. Certified already has that particular date, so this is just us bringing to you consensus on the step qualification for next school year. And we recommend approval of this item as well as the next item together.
Members, is there a nomination to combine these two?
I was going to offer that, Madam Chair.
A motion has been made by Member Marquez to combine items. Para. Sorry, Para. To combine items 9I and 9J, and seconded by Mr. Marquez.
Combine to pass.
Combine and improve, right?
To
So you don't need to
combine,
just
yes.
combine. You can combine and improve at the same time.
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah.
To combine and approve. Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any discussion? Any abstentions? Motion passes. The next item is 12B, approval of the recommendation to expel student 2022-23-05. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation to expel the student identified as 2022-2305?
I motion.
Is there a second? There's been a motion made by Board Member Para and a second made by Board Member Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
I heard one nay. Two nays. I feel like we need to do a roll call on this one. So we're going to do a roll call on this vote. So when I call your name, please say your vote. That's how you do it, right? Yep. So I'm going to repeat it again. What we're voting on is to expel student 2022-2305. Clerk Napa, what is your vote?
Aye.
Member, holy moly, too many names. My brain is fried. And it's Austin, thank you. Sorry. What's your vote?
Aye.
Aye. Member Marquez.
Nay.
Member Oliver.
I abstain.
Member Hernandez.
Nay.
Member Para.
Aye.
And then my vote, I can't remember which students is aye. And what's that count?
Yeah, that's good.
That's passed?
4-2.
It's 4 aye, 1 abstain, and 2 nay. The motion passes. The next item is 12C, approval of recommendation to expel student 2022-2306. Is there a motion?
I will motion.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do a roll call, okay. We'll do the same thing for this one. I'll repeat it just for clarity. The motion that is on the table is the recommendation to expel student 2022-23-06. When I call you, please tell me how you vote. Clerk Napa.
Aye.
Member Austin.
Aye.
Member Marquez.
Nay.
Member Oliver.
Abstain.
Member Hernandez.
Nay.
Member Para.
Aye.
I, Nikita, vote aye as well, and it passes. I just want to, we can have discussion, right? Lynn, where's Lynn? No discussion? Okay then, all righty. It passes. The next item is 12D, approval of the revised governing board policy IMB, teaching about controversial sensitive issues on the first reading. Dr. G, I'm assuming this is you?
No, you're good. Just approve first reading.
Oh, okay. Is there a motion?
I motion.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Item 13A, next meeting. The next regular meeting of the governing board is scheduled for Thursday, February 2nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in this building. Item 13B, request for future agenda items. Members, are there any items you would like to recommend to be considered for future board meeting agendas? Clerk Napa.
Can we get a full update from Dr. Gaston on the aggregate expense limit, the AEL, and its impact on PXU?
Any other agenda items, members?
Madam President,
Yes.
can we also get an update to see if there's any initial models that we requested in December in lieu of expulsion for these scenarios?
I would also like to see that.
Yeah, President Rossbermer, do you mind restating that with microphone on for the record, please, sir? Thank
It's
you.
been on the whole time. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is that better? Okay. So I'm asking for an update for my December request for if there's been any initial models in lieu of expulsion for these most extreme alternative schools.
Measures that were
Yeah,
taken.
yeah, so.
I would also like to see that. Any other agenda items for future meetings? Okay. Our favorite one. Item 13C, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. It has been moved by Member Marquez and seconded by Member Para. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone say no? Anyone abstaining? We are adjourned.